I just went out with an umbrella. I didn't expect to pick up the most beautiful girl in school and bring her home. I thought she just wanted to take shelter from the rain, but she shed tears of grievance. Gucci. I don't have a home to go back to anymore. Right now. In the rain, I'm walking home alone. Recalling the scene of being rejected by Liu Ying during the day, I let out a sigh. Forget it. I better not bother her anymore in the future. Looking up, I saw a young girl sitting dazedly on a park bench. As I got closer, I realized, isn't she our school's most famous beauty, Shen Mengyao? But in this pouring rain, she was as helpless as a stray cat. I mustered up the courage to hold the umbrella in my hand over her head. Sensing my presence, she actually called out my name correctly. You're Gucci, right? But her voice was faint, almost drowned out by the sound of the rain. My heart fluttered a little. You'll catch a cold if you keep staying here. Aren't you going home? But she turned her head away without saying a word. Only then did I realize. Her clothes were very dirty. Even her dress looked like it hadn't been changed in days. She was silent for a long time, and suddenly mumbled, I don't have a home to go back to anymore. Hearing that, I frowned, as if I had thought of something. Seeing her body trembling nonstop, I slowly spoke up. If you don't mind, do you want to come to my place? I thought she would coldly refuse, but her eyes welled up with tears. Is that really okay? But I just extended my hand towards her. As long as you agree, it's fine. 3 minutes later, Shen Mengyao stood motionless in my house, looking a bit bewildered. Noticing her discomfort, I handed her a set of clothes and a towel. You are soaked from the rain. Go take a shower first. The bathroom is at the end of the hall. On the right, you can use the shampoo and body wash as you like. Watching her walk into the bathroom, I turned and went straight to the kitchen. When Shen Mengyao came out of the bathroom, she happened to see me carrying a bowl of hot food and placing it on the table. Eat. I didn't explain anything, just looked at her and said it plainly. Before Shen Mengyao could say anything, I brought over a cup of hot water and 2 blister packs of medicine and placed them on the table too. After doing all this, I moved away to the sofa. Shen Mengyao sat at the table, feeling a bit conflicted. In her heart, the first thing was definitely resistance, but her body wanted her to accept it. After all, the feeling of hunger had taken over her brain. She looked over at me, sitting at another table doing homework, as if I didn't exist. It was clearly just ordinary fried rice, but she blushed with embarrassment as soon as she put it in her mouth. 10 minutes later, Shen Mengyao had eaten everything cleanly. And just then, I asked the question I had been wondering about for a long time. Trust me, I'll keep it a secret from others. Can you tell me what you meant when you said, you have no home to go back to? Shen Mengyao sobbed for a long time before she slowly spoke. Her parents, more than a week ago, were in a car accident and unfortunately passed away. Now, she's no different from an orphan, and no relatives want to take care of her. Her grandparents are also gone. I listened to the whole thing with a frown. Now I finally understand why. Shen Mengyao was sitting there crying all by herself. Such a tragic thing. She has to bear it all alone. It's really too much for her. At this moment, the room was very quiet. Only Shen Mengyao's faint sobs could be heard. My eyes darted away, not knowing what to do. Shen Mengyao is our class president. Not only is she good at studying, she also has an extremely good relationship with everyone. A cheerful and lively personality. She's the soul, the center of the class, and yet now she's crying her eyes out in front of me. Right now, there's only one thing I want to be clear about, and that is, no matter what, I can't let Shen Mengyao leave, after all, in her current state. It's definitely not safe for her to be alone. Besides, it's still raining heavily outside. Thinking of this, I said directly, you can just stay here. You can leave when you have a place to go. When Shen Mengyao heard me say that, she immediately snapped out of it. She waved her hands in panic. No, 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 you'll leave right now. But before she could finish speaking, I suddenly looked up at her and said in a low voice, either you stay here, or I'll call the police and let the police take care of you. You choose. Shen Mengyao sobbed a few times. With her tear-filled eyes, she looked at me with even a hint of resentment. Is this how you talk to Liu Ying too? My mouth opened, my gaze froze. I was speechless for a long time. Her expression seemed to be telling me, no wonder your confession failed. I lowered my head, speechless, completely losing the momentum I had just now. Seeing my pathetic state, Shen Mengyao covered her mouth and laughed, even though tears were still in the corners of her eyes. I smacked my lips in embarrassment. Just stay here. I'm begging you, okay? These were the most sincere words I could say. I also tried to put on a slightly kinder expression. Okay, I agree. Thank you. But why are you helping me? There's no reason. If I had to say, it's because I don't want my reputation in class to get any worse. Shen Mengyao blinked in surprise. But I've never heard in class that you have any bad reputation. The only news about you is that you confessed to Liu Ying. To me, that is a bad reputation. Aren't you afraid Liu Ying will be unhappy if you say that? Whatever. It has nothing to do with me anymore. I shrugged as if I didn't care at all. Shen Mengyao was a little surprised and asked probingly, don't you like her anymore? I shook my head. Something that doesn't get a response, doesn't need to be insisted on anymore. I see. All right. After deciding to stay, Shen Mengyao hung her wet clothes up to dry. Then she sat dazed on the sofa, not knowing what to do, seeing me still studying. But not long after, I started scratching my head in frustration. Shen Mengyao slowly walked over to my side. After seeing that I was struggling with a math problem, she pointed her finger and started patiently explaining it to me. I listened intently, nodding occasionally. When I looked up again, it was 2:30 in the morning. I packed up my things and looked at Shen Mengyao. You go to the bedroom. I'll sleep on the sofa. Although my EQ isn't high, I at least know not to. Let a girl sleep on the sofa. But Shen Mengyao kept refusing. She was already very grateful to me for letting her stay here. The two of them went back and forth like that. From the living room to the bedroom, I turned on the bedroom light. Shen Mengyao saw the scene in the bedroom. It was clean and tidy, not at all like the bedroom of a boy living alone. Moreover, the bed was very large, with more than enough room for two people to sleep. Seeing me so insistent, Shen Mengyao also refused to back down, so she proposed. So we both sleep in the bedroom, okay? I'll sleep on the floor. Why are you sleeping on the floor? I'll sleep. The two of them argued for another 5 minutes. Shen Mengyao discovered that I was such a stubborn person. Seeing it was getting later and later, they finally adopted a proposal that both reluctantly agreed to, which was on that big bed, to use a blanket to separate the middle, and each person sleeps on one side. An unconcealable blush appeared on Shen Mengyao's face. She somehow agreed as if bewitched. She had to sleep in the same bed with a male classmate. She sat on the left side of the bed, hugging her legs with both hands, feeling a little uneasy in her heart. Only now did she realize that she was a girl after all, and I am a boy. For her to feel at ease sleeping here like this, her sense of safety is too weak. What if I do something to her? What then? A moment later, I came in, wearing a thin set of ice silk pajamas. The muscle lines under the clothes were particularly clear. Shen Mengyao only glanced once, before quickly looking away, but the tips of her ears quietly turned red. After turning off the bedroom light, the two of them lay on the bed, back to back, with a blanket separating them in the middle. She closed her eyes tightly, but opened them again not long after, because she couldn't sleep at all. Her attention was completely focused on me on the other side. A full 30 minutes passed before Shen Mengyao heard steady breathing, knowing that I had probably fallen asleep. So after a brief moment of relaxation, she also fell asleep. She even had a dream, dreaming that her parents were slowly walking away. When she suddenly opened her eyes and sat up, she realized it was already morning. Then she smelled a fragrant aroma wafting from the kitchen. Instantly waking up her still sleeping stomach, Shen Mengyao walked out of the bedroom and looked towards the kitchen and found me wearing an apron, cooking. And at this moment, I turned around and, along with Shen Mengyao behind me, we looked at each other. "Hey, good morning," Shen Mengyao said softly, greeting me. "Yeah," I replied softly. Shen Mengyao looked at the lunchbox on the dining table, which contained the food I had just finished cooking. Just then, Shen Mengyao remembered that I used to always bring my own lunch to school instead of eating in the school cafeteria. "Are you preparing lunch? Why do you bring your own lunch? The school's food is pretty good." I simply replied, "As an ethnic minority, I have dietary restrictions. Is that so? No wonder your features look like it. I've made breakfast. You can eat first." I pointed to the hot food on the side. At this moment, Shen Mengyao's stomach had already been awakened by this aroma. Seeing this, her stomach sent out even stronger hunger signals. "Yeah." Shen Mengyao nodded with a soft voice, then sat down at the dining table. But she didn't eat right away, but waited until I finished, and sat at the table too. Before she picked up her chopsticks, I asked while eating breakfast, "Are you still going to school? I have to go buy clothes today. I probably can't go to school until tomorrow." I nodded. Then I took a set of keys out of my pocket and threw them right in front of Shen Mengyao. "House keys. Come back after you finish shopping, otherwise I won't be able to get in." Shen Mengyao looked at the keys in front of her, knowing that I was afraid she had nowhere to go and would leave secretly. She took the keys and replied softly, "I know," she thought to herself. "I can't just stay at his place forever. Although he intends to let her stay, she can't just stay without a care. But the money she had wasn't enough to rent a place outside right now. Studying is the main thing. She can't just drop out of school to work right now. Besides agreeing to stay here with me temporarily, she really has no other choice." After breakfast, I packed my things and hurried off. When I left, I didn't give Shen Mengyao any special instructions. Shen Mengyao looked at the empty room and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Could it be that I feel so at ease with her? Shen Mengyao planned to help me clean the house. After all, she's staying here temporarily. She should do something. She'll go out to buy clothes after she finishes cleaning. But when she went to my gym area and saw the dumbbells in front of her, she got a bit of a headache. After all, these things looked very heavy. Shen Mengyao had been cleaning for 20 minutes, when she suddenly glanced over and saw next to the cabinet a cardboard box placed in the corner. In the box were many letter-like papers, and a few small boxes. She squatted down and took out a piece of paper and looked at the content on it. A flash of surprise appeared in her eyes. It turned out these were all the things I had given to Liu Ying, love letters and gifts I had bought. Soon, it was time for afternoon classes to end. I had been on my way home for a while. On the way, I even saw the bench where I found Shen Mengyao yesterday. I should have asked for her phone number. What if she really left? I really only have that one key. Standing in front of the door, I knocked. Not long after, I heard footsteps coming from inside. I immediately breathed a sigh of relief. She stood in the doorway, looking a little different from how I saw her this morning. She seemed even more beautiful and radiant. Her eyes seemed to sparkle with light. "You're back?" "Yeah, good thing you didn't leave. Otherwise, I'd have to spend money on a locksmith." Hearing my words, Shen Mengyao couldn't help but lower her head and mumble, "I already promised you. How could I just leave?" "Oh right, you really don't have a phone. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to contact you if something came up." Hearing that, Shen Mengyao turned her head away in embarrassment. "I threw my phone into the river a few days ago. You're really something." I looked helplessly at the person in front of me, feeling she wasn't like the impression I had of her, as someone good at taking care of others, kind-hearted, and a cheerful and lively class president. Instead, it was like I went for a walk and picked up a crying, lost child. Then I turned and walked into the bedroom. When I came out, I was holding a phone in my hand. Use this for now. My old phone still works. I'll give you my second SIM card later. That way, at least I can contact you. Shen Mengyao took the phone, a look of surprise on her face. Her eyes looking at me were also full of disbelief, even though it's an old phone. He's just giving it to her to use like that? Why are you so good to me? Is it because of Liu Ying? Shen Mengyao asked in a low voice. In her heart, this was a very possible answer. Could it be because her relationship with Liu Ying is good? And since I like Liu Ying, I want to build a good relationship with her? I sat on the chair and looked at Shen Mengyao doubtfully. I was silent for a few seconds, then shook my head. I don't think this is being good to you. I think these are all things that should be done, just like how you helped me clean the house. Besides, no matter what I do, it definitely has nothing to do with Liu Ying. Then I sat at the table and started studying, while Shen Mengyao was fiddling on the sofa with the phone. She opened the photo album and found photos inside. She reflexively wanted to exit. After all, this is my privacy, but out of curiosity, she opened those screenshots and found that they were some chat logs. The person I was talking to was her best friend, Liu Ying. Looking at the content of the conversation, although it wasn't very ambiguous, you could tell their relationship must have been very good. At least they should be good friends. In the chat log, my words went from many to fewer and fewer. It was clearly just a few messages, but Shen Mengyao could see the psychological change in me from being full of expectations to complete disappointment. No wonder I didn't understand before why I persisted for so long. It turns out Liu Ying gave me hope with her own hands and then extinguished it with her own hands. For a moment, in her heart, there was a sense of contempt for Liu Ying's behavior. At the same time, she felt very sympathetic towards me. But as soon as Shen Mengyao looked up, she was startled, because she saw me sitting there, pen in hand, legs crossed, looking at her silently. She felt extremely embarrassed now. I said plainly, just delete everything in the phone. There's nothing useful inside. Hearing me say that, Shen Mengyao couldn't help but be stunned. But on second thought, it was true. Keeping these things was a source of my heartache. It was better to delete them all, so she obediently did so. Then Shen Mengyao borrowed a book from me and read it attentively. The two of them just sat there, studying quietly. Whenever I encountered a problem I couldn't solve, Shen Mengyao would patiently teach me by my side. Every time I finished a problem, I would show a look of utter despair. Shen Mengyao saw my tired look, covered her hand, covered her mouth, and couldn't help but burst out laughing. Just then, besides Shen Mengyao's laughter, a sudden rumbling sound was heard. Shen Mengyao's laughter stopped abruptly, frozen on her face. That rumbling was the sound of her stomach growling. I looked at Shen Mengyao doubtfully. Have you had dinner? Shen Mengyao's cheeks turned a faint shade of pink. She lowered her head and stammered, hungry. Not yet. Hearing that, I stood up and walked towards the kitchen. Wait, Shen Mengyao saw I was about to cook for her and quickly waved her hands. No. No need to go to such trouble. I won't eat. It's too late. Never mind. You can't go hungry at my place. After replying with that sentence, I walked into the kitchen and closed the door. Not long after, a fragrant smell came from the kitchen. I came out with a plate of hot fried rice. Here, eat. And Shen Mengyao didn't refuse much. After a soft thank you, Shen Mengyao started eating. A plate of fried rice in less than 3 minutes was polished off by her. After eating, Shen Mengyao ran into the kitchen to wash the dishes, thinking to herself, if I could eat like this every day in the future, it would surely be a wonderful thing. Shen Mengyao came to her senses and quickly dismissed this thought. She's only staying here temporarily. Once she's settled, she will definitely have to leave. At that time, she'll pay some rent. She can stay for free. However, after coming out of the kitchen, Shen Mengyao froze, because she saw me standing next to the cabinet, staring intently at the cardboard box. I looked at Shen Mengyao and asked, you saw it? Shen Mengyao trembled all over. No, Alright, I saw it, but I didn't open each one to look. I only saw one letter. It's okay if you saw it, you can treat it as a joke. I plan to throw all this stuff away tomorrow morning. Are you really going to throw it away? Is there anything more worthless than returned love letters and gifts? It's just a pile of trash. Then I sealed the cardboard box with tape and took it to the door. To be with the trash that needs to be thrown out tomorrow morning. Time quickly passed to 12:30 at night. In the dark bedroom, the two of them lay on the bed just like that, with a blanket separating them in the middle. Shen Mengyao wrapped the blanket tightly around herself. Today, there was no discussion about who would sleep in the bedroom and who would sleep on the sofa. This was the second time she had slept in the same bed with a male classmate. If other classmates found out about this, how would she explain it? But does she really care about being misunderstood now? Her family had a major incident. At that time, she even thought of dying, wandering outside in her school uniform, walking and crying, completely ignoring the stares and whispers of others. It must be admitted that, if it weren't for me, she wouldn't know where she would be now. It could even be said that I saved her. Gucci? Yeah, I'm here. Hearing Shen Mengyao call him, I also replied in a low voice. The next second I heard Shen Mengyao's soft and weak voice saying, good night. This time, when Shen Mengyao slept, she was clearly much more peaceful than last night. The next day, when she came out of the bedroom, I had already prepared lunch. It's just that on the table, there were now 2 lunchboxes. Then I pushed the smaller one in front of Shen Mengyao. At this moment, Shen Mengyao looked at the lunchbox before her, blinking in surprise. I prepared this for you. It was no trouble. This way, you can save some lunch money, right? If you don't want it, I won't prepare it tomorrow. No, I want it. Shen Mengyao hurriedly covered her lunchbox with her hands, as if afraid I would take it back. That's right. There's also fruit and yogurt. I casually passed another small container over. Shen Mengyao looked at the things in front of her, her eyes lighting up. It was as if she had returned to her elementary school days with her mother by her side, and that feeling she could never go back to, she found it in me. At this moment, in the way Shen Mengyao looked at me, the joyous feeling of satisfaction was incredibly clear. Seeing Shen Mengyao's reaction, I became even more certain that deep down, she was still a child. After washing up and having breakfast, the two of us went out together, and I casually threw away the cardboard box full of my own painful memories, without even a final glance. The two of us kept a certain distance on the way. When we reached the school gate, Shen Mengyao took a deep breath to calm her inner self. "Hey, class president." Just then, she heard a voice. She turned her head to look and found a few classmates right behind her. Shen Mengyao raised her hand and replied softly, "Ah, long time no see. It really is the class president. You're finally back at school. We missed you to death. Why did you suddenly stop coming?" They rushed forward, surrounded Shen Mengyao. I didn't pay any mind and just walked straight ahead. At that very moment, Shen Mengyao saw that next to me, as I walked ahead, a girl suddenly approached. That girl casually tossed me a piece of chewing gum. As if by habit, I caught it and put it directly into my mouth. "So did you get it?" "Of course, and it's top quality." "Okay, give it to me some other time. I'll treat you to the internet cafe another day." The two of them walked very close together. Shen Mengyao saw everything. Even she and I had never walked that close. This was the first time she had seen me speak so fluently, sentence after sentence. "Is that my desk mate, Tangzi?" "Mengyao, you're finally here. I was so worried about you. What on earth happened?" The moment Liu Ying saw Shen Mengyao, she immediately ran over and hugged her. "Ah, something happened at home, so I didn't come." Shen Mengyao replied with her mouth, but her eyes glanced towards us. Most of the class gathered around Shen Mengyao. Only Tangzi and I were sitting at our own desks. Shen Mengyao saw me and Tangzi, the two of us, constantly talking about something. Why did we have so much to talk about? When she was at my house, she hadn't seen me talk to her that much. "Class president, the teacher wants to see you in her office." "Okay." Shen Mengyao stood up, preparing to go to the teacher's office. Before leaving, her eyes kept staring in my direction, but she didn't see me look at her even once. Shen Mengyao felt her mood was a bit strange. Me talking to my deskmate is a very normal thing. So why did she feel so unbalanced? Could it be because she and I don't talk that much? Shen Mengyao's mind was racing with random thoughts. In the office, the teacher took Shen Mengyao's hand and began to patiently console her. And Shen Mengyao also knew she had to look forward. No matter how sad she was, it wouldn't change anything. When Shen Mengyao returned to the classroom, students once again began to ask about Shen Mengyao with concern. I glanced at the crowd that was about to surround Shen Mengyao in a heap. I wasn't surprised at all. Luckily, my seat is quite far from hers. Otherwise, it would probably be noisy as hell. The morning passed quickly. It was time for lunch. Shen Mengyao had been looking forward to lunch since the morning. After all, this was made by my own hands for her. She took the lunchbox from her desk drawer and placed it on the table. She felt that just one look was enough to whet her appetite. "Hey Mengyao, why did you bring lunch today?" Liu Ying saw on Shen Mengyao's desk the lunchbox and was a little surprised. In her memory, it seemed like in the whole class, only Gucci brought his own lunch. I just suddenly felt like it. "Let me try a bite. Did your mom make it?" Liu Ying looked at Shen Mengyao's food and asked with a smile. "No, I made it myself." "Really? Let me try." Liu Ying picked up her chopsticks, took a small piece, and put it in her mouth. She began to chew slowly. A moment later, she frowned slightly. "You made this yourself?" "Ah, yes, why?" It's nothing. The taste just feels a bit familiar, but it's quite delicious. You're really good." It's all right." Shen Mengyao felt a little flustered inside. She didn't expect Liu Ying to find the taste familiar. Could it be that she had eaten my cooking before? It seems their relationship was quite good before. Luckily, she didn't realize. Otherwise, it would be terribly embarrassing. Liu Ying sat back in her seat. Then she turned her head and glanced at me. When she saw that I was also eating, she couldn't help but frown. It seemed she was pondering some issue. Strange. Shen Mengyao ate everything cleanly, then went on to finish the fruit and drink the yogurt. Finally, she collapsed onto the table in satisfaction. A faint smile played on the corners of her mouth. For some reason, she felt as if she had returned to her childhood. Back in elementary school, she also brought her own lunch. Back then, it was her mother who, every day, prepared lunch for her in the morning. Tears welled up in the corners of Shen Mengyao's eyes. Then they rolled down from her eyes, along her cheeks, and onto the table. She quickly wiped away the tears so that others wouldn't see. Summer afternoons are quite stuffy. The students in the class were all drowsy. Finally, in the afternoon, there was a gym class. Gym classes are very rare now. At most, there's only one class a week. Everyone went to the sports field to start playing. As for me, I sat in a shady spot reading a book. I also wanted to go out and get some fresh air, but I wanted to seize the time to study. After all, my grades are too poor. If I want to catch up, I have to work harder than others. Hey look, Gucci is reading a book. He doesn't look like he's just putting on a show. He's really started to study hard. Tianrun pointed at me in the shady spot and said to Liu Ying and Shen Mengyao beside her. Shen Mengyao nodded gently. Only she knew how hard I was working. Even after coming home, I still study hard. My determination was clear to see. But Liu Ying didn't seem interested. She turned her head and pulled Shen Mengyao and Tianrun. Hey, let's go watch the boys play basketball. Ah, this. Shen Mengyao was unwillingly dragged away by Liu Ying. Compared to watching those boys play basketball, she actually wanted to come and read with me. But that would be a bit too forced. People would definitely gossip. She herself didn't mind, but she was mainly afraid of affecting me. The atmosphere on the basketball court was lively, while on my side, the years were quiet. Just as I turned to the next page of the book, a basketball was suddenly thrown into my lap. I frowned slightly and looked up. The person standing in front of me was Tang Zi. She was wearing a loose t-shirt, and on her lower half was a pair of sports shorts. A pair of long, slender, fair legs were exposed. I threw the basketball back to her, a little puzzled. Hey, what are you doing? Let's play for a while. Let's see if your skills have gotten rusty. Tang Zi bounced the ball twice, the corners of her eyes curving. It seemed she was smiling. I casually pointed. Go play with those boys over there. They're not interesting at all. Challenging you is what's meaningful. Or are you scared? Hearing that, I snapped my book shut and stood up. Don't be like when we were kids, crying your way home after you lose. Humph, you have to beat me first. Tang Zi and I went to another basketball court together. The boys playing basketball on the other court suddenly glanced over. Their eyes widened. One patted the person next to him and whispered, Hey, look who's over there. Such fair legs. What legs? Where? The boys on the court seemed to go crazy, searching everywhere. When they saw Tang Zi not far away, their eyes widened too. Damn, that's Tang Zi. Holy crap. Tang Zi is that stacked? Brothers, I have been enlightened. The three girls watching found it a bit strange. Why did all those boys suddenly stop and look in the same direction? But when their eyes followed, their level of surprise was no less than the boys. Gucci. When Shen Mengyao saw that the person next to Tang Zi was me, her heart trembled. It felt unexpected, yet it also made sense, but Liu Ying's brows were tightly furrowed. She didn't know why she felt particularly uncomfortable inside. It felt like something had been stolen from her. She bit her lip. A cold glint flickered in the depths of her eyes. Let's go, take a look. And Tang Zi and I hadn't even started yet, but we already saw the court surrounded by people, and all the boys who were playing basketball over there earlier had stopped playing and came over here to look at legs and the ball. So it turns out Gucci has such a good figure. The attention of Tianrun and the other two turned to me. Seeing me now, wearing a short-sleeved shirt that revealed my figure, they couldn't help but be a little surprised. I'm not sure. Liu Ying was also stunned. Before, how had she never known I had such a good figure? Shen Mengyao, however, knew. After all, she could see me going to bed in my pajamas every night. Are we still playing? Being watched by so many people made me a little uncomfortable. I looked at Tang Zi and asked, Since when did you start caring about what other people think? That's true. The one-on-one match between the two was incredibly exciting. Both defense and offense were exceptionally brilliant. The surrounding onlookers were all stunned. Every time I scored a point, Shen Mengyao would clap along. She watched with intense focus, a completely different state compared to when she was watching others play earlier. At this point, our scores were very close. If I wanted to change this situation now, I had to at least create some distance from Tang Zi. In that case, the next second before Tang Zi could even react, I jumped up with the ball and slammed it with all my might towards the backboard. Along with a loud bang, spiderweb-like cracks quickly spread across the backboard. It immediately shattered. Shards of broken glass scattered on the ground. The scene before me left me stunned, and the surrounding onlookers all gasped in amazement. Everyone stared wide-eyed. The female students were even more startled. This was the first time they had seen someone shatter this thing. Tang Zi gave a helpless smile. She brushed the glass fragments off me. All right, you win. Being able to push you to this extent is good enough. At this moment, I was a bit dazed. I originally thought I wouldn't be disturbed by external factors, but today, being watched by everyone made me get a little serious. So handsome. Oh my god. When he jumped up just now, I think I saw his abs. Tianrun excitedly shook Liu Ying's arm next to her, jumping around like a crazed fan. Liu Ying still hadn't come back to her senses. Her eyes were fixed on me, her pupils slightly shifting. She felt she understood me quite well. Her previous impression of me was that I was a boring conversationalist, had a rather low EQ, a boy with poor grades, quite dull. But now, looking at me like this, it seems he's also quite handsome. Shen Mengyao noticed that quite a few female students who were watching, when they looked at me, their eyes even revealed a look of affection. She didn't know why she had a strange feeling. It seemed to be a deep-seated insecurity. The gym class ended just like that. I took the initiative to admit my fault. In the end, the school didn't make me pay for it, just gave me a perfunctory verbal reprimand and told me to clean it up. But a legend about me had already started spreading throughout the school. The boys in the class were green with envy, but I didn't think this was a good thing. After I became prominent, it seems more eyes are on me and things have become different from before, especially those female students. As soon as I walk past, they stare at my chest and stomach, which gives me the creeps. A day passed quickly. It was time to leave school again. I always had a feeling that I would be cornered after school. Whether by boys or girls, I don't know what they'd do, but I just had this illusion. So after class, I quickly packed my things and hurried away. Shen Mengyao saw me leave so quickly and immediately panicked. She also sped up, preparing to follow. Hey Mengyao, wait a minute. Let's go together. Liu Ying saw Shen Mengyao in such a hurry and quickly called out to her. But how could Shen Mengyao have time to wait for Liu Ying to go with her? Besides, if she went with her, wouldn't the fact that she's going to my house be easily exposed? So Shen Mengyao didn't turn back and just left a sentence, no more talking. I have something to do after school, so I'm leaving first. Something to do? What could she possibly have to do this late? Liu Ying felt it was a bit strange. She recalled a bit, all day today, the state of Shen Mengyao was a bit strange. She seemed a bit unnatural, with a worried expression on her face. But she knew that something seemed to have happened to Shen Mengyao's family, so she didn't ask much. But besides that, it was as if she had some unspeakable secret. Shen Mengyao, just like that, chased me out of the school. She hurriedly ran to my side. Wait for me, you. Why are you walking so fast? I looked at the panting Shen Mengyao with some surprise. Hey, what are you rushing for? It's not like you don't know where my house is. You can just walk slowly. This. When Shen Mengyao heard me say that, she felt it seemed right. If she chased after me, there was a chance of being seen and this secret being discovered. So why was she in such a hurry to chase after me? It seemed her heart was just looking forward to the end of school so she could talk to me openly right away. You're not hurt, are you? Shen Mengyao thought about how today, on me, so many glass shards had fallen. Afraid I might have gotten scratched, she asked softly. No, I replied faintly. Oh, that's good. Oh, right. I finished all the lunch today. It was delicious. Okay, I replied monosyllabically. This made Shen Mengyao's mood sink a little. She couldn't help but think of how today, me and Tongzi talked so naturally. Why was it like this when talking to her? Are there more topics to talk about with Tongzi? Could it be because Tongzi is very special? She had been thinking about this issue for a long time today. It was the same during gym class. I didn't play basketball with those boys, but sat there reading by myself. But as soon as Tangzi came to find me, I immediately played with Tangzi. So the doubt in her heart made her unable to resist asking. I have a question. Don't be angry, okay? Do you like Tangzi? I mean, in a romantic sense. Because I see that you and she talk very naturally, and talk about many things, and walk quite closely. But with me, it's a bit. When Shen Mengyao said these words, she was a little embarrassed, feeling as if she were jealous, which made her say these things. No. I answered very decisively, without even a hint of hesitation. So decisive that Shen Mengyao found it a little hard to believe. Really? You haven't thought about it at all? But I feel your relationship with her is quite good. Her grades are very good, she looks quite pretty, and in no way is she inferior to Liu Ying. I shook my head again in denial. No, doing that would get me beaten to death by my dad. Huh? Why? Because it's against common decency to be with your own cousin. Shen Mengyao immediately stopped in her tracks, a look of horror on her face. She looked completely terrified. Cousin? Her mother is my aunt, my father's sister. Tangzi and I grew up together since we were little. She transferred classes a few days after the 10th grade started. Have you forgotten? We weren't in the same class back then. She transferred here later, because her mom was afraid that with her personality, she wouldn't be able to make friends and would have no one to talk to. So she asked the teacher to arrange for us to be desk mates. My words made Shen Mengyao have an epiphany. No wonder Tangzi and I look so close. It turns out we've known each other since we were kids. She even felt that the two of us were already being a bit restrained. It's probably due to our personalities. Thinking back, it makes sense. Their relationship is so good and their individual conditions aren't bad. Yet they aren't together. Ruling out the possibility that they truly dislike something about each other, it could only be because of their family relationship. Shen Mengyao seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The tone of her voice also became more relaxed. So now you know what happened today, right? Someone in broad daylight shouting that you like your cousin. It's a good thing I didn't get angry. Huh? That was you not being angry? I felt you were already furious. It was quite scary. No, not even close. It's not worth getting angry over someone like that. If I were angry, I would have slapped him right across the face. Shen Mengyao pursed her lips and let out a soft laugh. I turned my head to look at her. What are you laughing at? I'm serious. Nothing. I just feel a little closer to you. And it seems we're talking more. Then Shen Mengyao and I walked into the house together. Shen Mengyao once again felt that this place had a bit of familiarity and a sense of belonging. She had clearly only been here for 2 days, but it felt as if she had been here for a long time. Perhaps the way I treated her made her recall what it was like at home before. As for me, I went to cook dinner first. Shen Mengyao felt she was truly blessed with good food, because she really liked the food I cooked. It suited her taste very well. When I went to cook, Shen Mengyao helped clean the house. Even though the house was already clean enough, she would still find things to do on her own. The two of them ate together. The dinner table was a bit quiet. Although Shen Mengyao tried to find topics to talk about with me, I have a habit of not talking while eating or sleeping. I ate quickly and quietly. She also felt shy about disturbing me further. After eating, she took the initiative to clear the table and wash the dishes. As for me, I took off my jacket and walked to the bathroom door. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, I asked Shen Mengyao in the kitchen, "Do you want to take a shower?" "Go ahead." Shen Mengyao peeked her head out, a faint blush rising on her cheeks. "I don't need to. I'll go shower outside." She still can't comfortably shower at my house, so before she always took care of it outside. She didn't even dare to when I wasn't home, let alone when I'm here. It's all right, you can use the bathroom. It's fine, there's a lock. After reminding her, I closed the door and prepared to shower. Ah, okay. Shen Mengyao's reply was very quiet. Her fair earlobes also turned red. After tidying up her things, she sat at the desk to study. But not long after, she heard the sound of rushing water coming from the bathroom. Then she thought about me showering at this moment, and in her mind, she couldn't help but imagine my physique, an inverted triangle physique, such broad shoulders. What would it look like while showering? For a moment, a blurry image flickered in her mind. No. Shen Mengyao hurriedly shook her head, shaking off these blush-inducing fantasies, silently thinking, how could I think about that? Although she forced herself to concentrate, when she came back to her senses, the sound of water had just stopped. She immediately pretended to be studying diligently, her hands gripping the book tightly, looking very serious. Not long after, I walked out of the bathroom in my pajamas. Because I hadn't dried myself completely, my pajamas clung to my stomach. My defined abs were particularly prominent. Even though Shen Mengyao tried hard to concentrate, her eyes kept unconsciously glancing towards me. Gulp. Shen Mengyao's eyes suddenly widened, in disbelief. What was she doing? Did she just swallow her saliva? Impossible. Turns out. So Shen Mengyao is this kind of person? From childhood until now, she had never been in love, let alone had feelings for any boy. She thought she was the type of person who only knew how to study, a bookworm. Completely different from those who bravely pursue love in their youth. But why was her heart starting to flutter now? But I didn't notice anything unusual about Shen Mengyao. I was just busy drying my hair. Shen Mengyao forcefully patted her own flushed cheeks, forcing herself to calm down, making herself immerse in the inescapable sea of knowledge. But at this moment, my phone on the desk happened to ring. She subconsciously looked in the direction of the sound and saw a message notification appear on the screen. Shen Mengyao's heart couldn't help but tremble because she saw the contact name for that message was Liu Ying. Doesn't she hate Gu Qi? Why did she suddenly message him? Although this aroused Shen Mengyao's intense curiosity, she didn't secretly read the message content. When she saw me come back preparing to sit at the desk, Shen Mengyao seemed a little unnatural and said in a low voice, Did your phone just ring? But after I read the message on my phone, I frowned slightly. Then I turned off my phone without replying. Shen Mengyao had been observing my expression the whole time. This kind of reaction made Shen Mengyao even more curious. What could Liu Ying have messaged him? Could it be that she's come back to confess to him? Impossible. She had also seen the chat history on the phone. Liu Ying's attitude at school today clearly showed she didn't want to be with him. At this moment, Liu Ying was lying on her bed looking at her phone. On her phone was the message she had just sent me. What are you doing? Although it was just 3 short words, it was a message she had hesitated for a long time before sending. If it were before, I would have replied very quickly. Even if I didn't reply in time, I would have hurriedly explained why later. But now, half an hour had passed, and there was still no news from me. She really wished now that there was a read receipt function, so she would know whether I hadn't seen the message or had seen it and not replied. Liu Ying raised her hand and slowly typed a few words. Why are you ignoring me? But just as she was about to press send, her finger just couldn't press down, as if she was having an internal struggle. A moment later, she deleted those words and then turned off her phone. Lying on the bed, she covered her eyes with her hand. Seriously, it would have been so much better if things were like before. Why did you have to become so different? At midnight, we both went back to the bedroom to get ready for bed. For Shen Mengyao, the first time was strange, the second time was familiar, and by the third time, there was nothing to worry about anymore. It even felt very natural. After all, if I wanted to do something, it would have happened 2 days ago. Besides, she already knew a little about what kind of person I am. Turning off the lights, she looked up at the dark ceiling and began to recall the events of the day in her mind. To our classmates, I was definitely the biggest main character and had also given others a huge shock. They've probably even started to change their opinion of me. But the thing that shocked her the most was none other than finding out that Tongzi and I are related. Thinking about it carefully, it seems Tongzi did indeed, in our first year, transfer to their class a few days later. After that, she started sitting next to me and has never changed seats even once until now. Her impression of Tongzi was actually the same as my impression. Both are the quiet type, not good at communicating and don't have any friends, and she had indeed never seen Tangzi hanging out with anyone, occasionally just sitting alone at her seat, doing who knows what. Tangzi. She doesn't have any friends? Shen Mengyao suddenly asked in a low voice. Although it was very quiet, it was especially clear in the quiet bedroom. Yeah, I replied. So if I talk to her first, will she pay attention to me? She will, but I advise you not to befriend her. Huh? Why? Shen Mengyao was indeed a little stunned. She even thought she heard wrong. I was silent for a long while before slowly speaking. If you're with her for a long time, I'm afraid your self-esteem will be hurt. Huh? This. What does that mean? It's nothing, just don't get close to her. She doesn't need any friends either. I turned over, changing the subject, as if swallowing words I wanted to say. Previously, Shen Mengyao was already extremely curious about Liu Ying's message. Now, with me being vague about Tongzi's situation, she really couldn't take it anymore. If she couldn't find out about this either, she probably wouldn't be able to sleep well tonight. Shen Mengyao propped herself up, looked at me on the other side and said seriously, "Just tell me. I will definitely befriend her. Don't worry." Hearing this, I opened my eyes in doubt. I didn't expect Shen Mengyao to be so determined. After hesitating for a moment, I got up and turned on the light, went to the computer desk and started searching. Shen Mengyao sat on the edge of the bed, watching me with some doubt. A moment later, I handed a photo to Shen Mengyao. Shen Mengyao took it and saw a little girl in the photo, who looked to be about 7 or 8 years old, smiling brightly. And what was extremely striking was that in her left hand, the girl held a stack of certificates, and in her right hand, there was even a trophy. "This is Tongji. Is this for real?" Shen Mengyao was a little incredulous. After all, the little girl in front of her and Tongji were too different, not to mention the difference between long and short hair, but her demeanor looked very lively, and she loved to smile. "But the Tongji of today is very cold." "Yeah, it's real." I nodded and continued. "She's the classic other people's child. Music, chess, calligraphy, painting, she's good at everything. She can easily win first place in any competition. And her academic performance has always been at the top since she was little. Your grades are in the top 5 of the whole year, right? She's just not focused on studying right now. If she could play games less for 2.5 months, she could definitely surpass you." "Huh, is that so?" Hearing what I said, Shen Mengyao couldn't help but open her mouth in surprise. She knew Tongji was excellent, but she didn't expect her to be that excellent. Since we were kids, I couldn't compare to her in anything. So when we were young, she basically didn't see me as her cousin. For a long time back then, I even really hated her. I sat on the chair, seeming to recall things from the past, my eyes somewhat pensive. In the end, I could only use the innate physical differences between boys and girls to teach her a lesson. I remember once when we were kids, we played basketball, and I won. That was the first time I surpassed her in any aspect. She cried, but in contrast, I laughed, and it was the happiest laugh I ever had. After that, she took a hit and started to train her physical strength hard every day, just to surpass me in sports. From then on, I finally regained a bit of confidence, and she started seeing me as a rival, her personality gradually becoming more calm and composed. Right after, I tossed her another photo. In the photo were probably me and Tangzi in middle school. On my birthday, I was making a wish with my eyes closed in front of the cake, while Tangzi was wearing my birthday hat, secretly eating, the moment after eating the cake, which was captured by the camera. I feel like the bond between you two is probably even stronger than that of ordinary siblings. Shen Mengyao handed the photo back to me, but her eyes revealed a hint of admiration. Because since she was little, she never had friends or relatives like that. She also understood why. The two of them didn't have any friends. Perhaps for us, having each other was enough. After all, she and I have never fought. Then I looked at Shen Mengyao and said, "So do you understand now? Being with her will be very tiring. Besides, you don't need to befriend her, and she doesn't need it either." Shen Mengyao gently shook her head and curled her lips. "No, now I want to be her friend even more. By learning from someone excellent, I can improve." The next day, Liu Ying left her house walking towards the school. It's just that she wasn't in a very good state, looking as if she hadn't slept much. Yesterday, she waited for my message until very late. About 2 hours later, she assumed that I had seen it but deliberately didn't reply. Originally, she was quite angry and planned to confront me at school. But on second thought, perhaps I really wouldn't pursue her anymore. If it were before, she might have been happy, feeling like she was finally free of me. But now, why did she feel inexplicably upset? These issues troubled Liu Ying all night. So she decided to wait until school, to ask for Shen Mengyao and Tian Ruin's opinions. Maybe it would be helpful. Liu Ying walked down the road, yawning, looking at the road ahead, always feeling like the school was still very far away. Right now, she really hoped that I would suddenly appear behind her, then call out to her to walk to school together, chatting when it was just the two of them. But in the end, this was just a fantasy. After all, how could it be possible? But suddenly, Liu Ying widened her eyes in disbelief as she saw someone walk past her. "Isn't that figure me?" "Gucci," she called out subconsciously. Hearing her, I turned my head to look at her, then glanced behind Liu Ying before turning to leave. "Hey!" Before Liu Ying could say anything, another person appeared beside her. "Good morning, Liu Ying. What a coincidence meeting you here. And Yao, you take this road too? Why didn't I see you on the way to school before?" A flash of surprise crossed Liu Ying's eyes. "So, when she just called out to me, didn't she hear it?" "Ah, I moved, so I take this road," Shen Mengyao answered hesitantly, pointing behind her. Luckily, she had seen Liu Ying walking ahead just now, so she deliberately slowed down to keep a distance from me. "You don't look very energetic. Did you not sleep well?" Shen Mengyao looked at Liu Ying's state, just like herself a few days ago. Liu Ying nodded and replied gloomily, "Yeah, I didn't sleep well." Shen Mengyao remembered that last night Liu Ying had messaged me, but got no reply. Could it be that she didn't sleep well because of this? Could it be that Liu Ying has changed her mind now and wants to be with Gucci again? The two arrived at the classroom and found that it was quite lively inside, and someone who was already in the classroom early, Tianruan, pointed towards us. "Gucci and Tangzi are really popular now." Shen Mengyao and Liu Ying looked doubtfully towards our seats and saw that people were constantly coming and going next to this pair of desk mates, chatting and giving gifts. "Tangzi, these are the snacks I bought for you this morning. Tangzi, want to go play ball this weekend? We're short one person. Come with us. Gucci, we're going to karaoke this weekend. Are you coming? Gucci, can you teach me how to play ball? The boys and girls surrounding the two of them were endless, but for the two of us, it was like a world-class disaster. From the moment we entered the classroom, our faces were full of impatience. Suddenly, I slammed my hand on the desk. A loud noise immediately silenced the entire classroom. Seeing our gloomy faces again, everyone just felt a chill run down their spine and quickly dispersed. After all, these two were really not to be messed with. After waiting until no one was around, our eyebrows finally relaxed. Seeing this, Tianruan couldn't help but sigh. Those two are so hard to approach. No wonder they don't have any friends. I think they just don't want to make friends. They probably aren't hard to approach, they just don't like noise. Besides, they aren't that close to the other classmates. Shen Mengyao unconsciously spoke up to defend us. She now knew the situation with me and Tongzi. Liu Ying stared at me, with so many things she wanted to say to me in her heart, but couldn't find any opportunity. After all, she was the person I used to like. Couldn't she be the most special one? Unexpectedly, in just 3 days, from me revolving around her every day, it turned into so many people revolving around me, and I was no longer by her side. Originally, she planned to ask Shen Mengyao and Tianruan for their opinions at school, but it seems now, she has to ask the person in question for it to be effective. But Gucci was really handsome yesterday. Do you guys think if I confess to him, will he agree? Tianruan looked at the other two with an expectant expression, trying to get the answer she wanted. Unfortunately, the two of them shook their heads almost simultaneously, without any hesitation at all. This result directly made Tianruan's face fall. How rude. Right now, Tangzi and I were in a very bad mood. Our spot was clearly a pure land yesterday. How did it turn into such a chaotic place today? So annoying. Tangzi couldn't help but mutter. Then she spat out the gum in her mouth. I frowned and looked at Tangzi. Wasn't it just a basketball game yesterday? Is this really necessary? I don't get it. They probably just like novelty and aren't that close to us, so they want to come and get to know us a bit. Then they can just look for you. Why look for me? Don't they know me already? They've been laughing at me for 2 years. After saying that, I glanced at the source of my ridicule for the past 2 years, which was none other than Liu Ying. As a result, I found her staring at me, and our gazes happened to meet. The moment Liu Ying and I looked at each other, her heart suddenly beat faster, feeling a little nervous. She quickly turned her head away, her face was flushed red like a cherry. She gently placed her hand on her chest, uttering, "What is this situation?" After school, Liu Ying immediately went to Shen Mengyao's side. "Mengyao, come to the restroom with me for a bit." Although the two of them were walking down the hallway towards the restroom, Shen Mengyao looked at Liu Ying's expression. It seemed like she had something to say. Otherwise, she wouldn't have called me out here alone. Before, she always went with Tianruan. The three of them always did things together. So what's wrong? If you have something to say, just say it. Shen Mengyao directly guessed Liu Ying's thoughts. Liu Ying looked around, and after making sure there were no familiar faces around, she leaned into Shen Mengyao's ear and whispered, "Let me tell you something, don't tell anyone else. So, I said before that I don't like Gucci, right? But I don't know why. The more I look at him now, the more I like what I see. What's going on? You absolutely must not tell Tianruan. She will definitely laugh at me." At this moment, Shen Mengyao's expression was a bit dazed, even a little incredulous. She recalled Liu Ying's message from last night and her state this morning. I can't believe it's really because her feelings towards me have changed. You haven't fallen for him, have you? I don't know either. If I say it's possible, will you laugh at me? Liu Ying looked at Shen Mengyao, her eyes carrying a hint of anxiety. Liking someone is no big deal, but if it's liking someone you've rejected for 2 years, that's really something people would laugh at. Even she herself found it a little ridiculous. He pursued her seriously for 2 years, and she never agreed. As a result, he just showed off a little yesterday, and she immediately fell for him. This is just too shameless. Then I won't laugh at you, but I think this thought of yours has come too late. Gucci is very popular now. Besides, hasn't he not come to confess to you for a few days? That's right. Does he not like me anymore? The anxiety in Liu Ying's heart had reached its peak. The first day he didn't come to bother me, I was very happy. The second day, I felt something was wrong. By the third day, I actually started to feel a little anxious. I myself am too easily swayed. What if he's playing hard to get? Then wouldn't I have fallen for it easily? I think so. Shen Mengyao didn't dare to tell the truth. After all, last night when Liu Ying sent the message, she saw it with her own eyes. He completely ignored it and chose to leave it on read. This must mean he doesn't like her anymore. But if she was too blunt now, it would definitely hurt Liu Ying's heart. So what should I do? You could try talking to Gucci. Maybe something will change. Shen Mengyao clearly knew Liu Ying had no chance, but still gave her this suggestion, hoping that through this, she could directly face reality. If I reject her outright, she'll probably give up. Talk directly to Gucci. Alright, then can you help me tell Gucci? At the staircase during lunch, I want to talk to him. Huh? Me? Go tell him? Why don't you go yourself? I don't dare, Liu Ying said shyly. She just thought that if she went herself, it would definitely be in front of other people, and she would surely be surrounded and laughed at by everyone. Besides, if I rejected her on the spot, wouldn't that be even more embarrassing? Alright, but I can't guarantee he'll agree. Shen Mengyao hesitated for a moment, but still chose to help with this small favor. After all, Liu Ying was still her good friend. Okay, thanks. Liu Ying happily hugged Shen Mengyao, then turned and went back to class. Shen Mengyao sighed helplessly, her mood a little complicated. As Liu Ying's friend, she should be hoping for her success. But for some reason, her heart didn't want Liu Ying to succeed. She even secretly prayed in her heart, hoping that I wouldn't be persuaded by Liu Ying and not agree to her. After Shen Mengyao returned to class, since there was still some time before class started, Liu Ying, sitting at her seat, hurriedly gave Shen Mengyao a look, signaling for her to help talk to me. And after Shen Mengyao saw no one was beside me, she continued walking towards me. She's the class president, and her relationships are very good. She could find anyone in this class, and there wouldn't be any gossip, except for one person. Lu Bo was sitting in his seat, and when he saw Shen Mengyao walking towards me, his heart suddenly clenched. He felt like he had to do something. Shen Mengyao came to my side and whispered, "Hey Guqi, I have something to tell you." Hearing that, I looked up at Shen Mengyao and replied indifferently, "I've been bothered to death since early this morning. It's not that I was trying to be cold, but they were all the ones who had laughed at me for 2 years. Before, when I wanted to get along with them, they treated me like a joke. Now I want some peace and quiet, to study hard and catch up, but this group of people swarmed over. Even now I still feel a bit annoyed. This was also because it was Shen Mengyao. If it were someone else, I really wouldn't have bothered. Hey, Shen Mengyao! I have a problem I don't know how to solve. Can you teach me?" Just then, Lu Bo suddenly ran over with his workbook, stopping her from continuing. Shen Mengyao's train of thought was completely cut off. She looked at Lu Bo in a daze. Although she was usually easy to talk to and her grades were good, so many people came to ask her for help with homework, but they should at least consider the timing. She was talking to someone else right now, and what she was about to say was a particularly sensitive topic. This made it hard for her to know how to start. "Oh, are you talking to Gucci? It's okay, you go first, I'm not in a hurry." Lu Bo added another sentence, pretending not to disturb our conversation, but he didn't step back. Instead, he stood to the side. He just wanted to stand here and listen, to see what Shen Mengyao was going to say, so that he would have a better idea of the situation. Could you? Shen Mengyao looked troubled. She couldn't get the words out at all. If Lu Bo heard it and it spread, not only would Liu Ying be embarrassed, but Gucci would also be in an awkward position. She knew very well that I didn't want to be a joke anymore. I didn't want to be the subject of other people's gossip. But she was too shy to ask Lu Bo to step away for a bit, as that would make it seem like she was about to say something improper and it would be twisted into some weird rumor. I looked up at the troubled Shen Mengyao, then at Lu Bo, who refused to back down. The next second, I suddenly stood up and directly grabbed Shen Mengyao's wrist with one hand. Under Lu Bo's dazed gaze, I pulled Shen Mengyao right out of the classroom. At this moment, Shen Mengyao was also completely stunned. The feeling of me holding her hand was exactly the same as when I pulled her home in the heavy rain that day. Liu Ying had been secretly observing the situation, and after seeing this scene, her eyes were filled with disbelief. Lu Bo was even more dumbfounded, his eyebrows twitching non-stop. He let me, right in front of him, pull Shen Mengyao away. Right then, I brought Shen Mengyao to the stairwell, where no one was passing by. I let go of her hand, looked at Shen Mengyao in front of me and said, "All right, say it. Aren't you afraid of people gossiping? They will misunderstand you." Shen Mengyao lowered her head and said softly, "Just thinking about me pulling her out of the classroom, her heart started beating faster." I closed my eyes and slowly began to speak. "Are you asking someone who's been mocked for 2 years if he's afraid of rumors? On the contrary, if you're afraid of being misunderstood, you'll go back and explain it to them later." Shen Mengyao repeatedly waved her hands. No, I'm even less afraid." She knew her current situation. She was already all alone. She wasn't afraid of being ruined. Why would she be afraid of a few words? Then that's fine. Hurry up and say it. Class is about to start. Actually, I'm just a messenger. It's Liu Ying. She wants to talk to you privately. She wants to meet you here at noon. No way. I directly shook my head and refused, without even thinking about it. Shen Mengyao had already guessed this outcome, I should say. With her understanding of me, this was the most likely thing to happen. You really aren't going to talk to her? Who knows? After talking, maybe she'll get together with you. Then I definitely can't talk to her. Think about it. I chased her for 2 years, and she never agreed. Now I'm not chasing her anymore. It's only been 3 days. She wants to hit on me, and I'm supposed to go back? Wouldn't that make me look cheap? That is also true. After they finished talking, the two of them returned to class. However, as soon as I sat down, Tangzi tapped the desk with her pen and asked, "Since when are you so close with the class president?" I was a little confused. How can you tell? If you weren't close, would you grab her wrist and run out? Aren't you afraid she'd slap you and call you a hooligan? Hearing this, I waved my hand. You're overthinking it. I know she's a good person. She wouldn't do that. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't have dared. All right, Tangzi nodded, reluctantly believing me. As for what Shen Mengyao and I just talked about, she didn't ask, nor did she want to ask, even though she knew that if she asked, I would definitely tell her. Although some people didn't want to know, there was someone who was dying to know. Lu Bo was sitting in his seat as if on pins and needles. He felt like ants were crawling all over him. He really wanted to know what I and Shen Mengyao had talked about, but he couldn't follow us just now because his intentions would have been too obvious, and he would be disliked. And the thing that bothered him the most was that I had grabbed Shen Mengyao's wrist and walked out, and Shen Mengyao didn't resist at all, but on the contrary, accepted it naturally. Liu Ying was another witness. Although she was shocked by my recent action, she also knew the content of their conversation, so now she was especially looking forward to Shen Mengyao bringing back good news for her. When school let out, Liu Ying couldn't wait to go to Shen Mengyao's side. "Mengyao, how did it go?" she asked softly, her voice and eyes filled with anticipation. But when she saw that Shen Mengyao's expression wasn't quite right, her heart skipped a beat. "Hey, Liu Ying, you should still give up on Gu Chai. Didn't you say it yourself, that you two weren't compatible?" "He refused, didn't he?" Liu Ying sadly lowered her eyes, feeling her eyes sting, and had the urge to cry. She didn't feel wronged, she just felt that she had brought this upon herself. After all, it wasn't that she had missed her chance, but that it had been right in front of her, and she had ignored it for 2 years. Fate seemed to be playing a joke on her. For 2 whole years, she didn't like me at all, but just a few days after I stopped liking her, she started to become interested in me. Shen Mengyao didn't know how to comfort her either. She could only gently shake her head and say, "It's okay, you're so pretty. When you get to university, more people will like you. It's senior year now, even if you really got together with Gucci, with your grades, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to get into the same university. A long-distance relationship would be even more painful then." At this moment, Liu Ying didn't know what to do. She could only passively listen to Shen Mengyao's words of comfort. What else could she do? Could she shamelessly beg me to come back? Just a moment ago, she was still thinking about what to say to me this afternoon. But now, everything she had thought of was useless. He didn't even want to talk to her. "What's wrong?" Tianrun heard them and walked over to the two of them. When she saw that Liu Ying didn't look well, Tianrun was a bit confused, but Shen Mengyao gently pulled her hand, signaling for her not to ask anymore. Tianrun obediently kept quiet, but since it was about Liu Ying, she had some clues. It was probably related to Gucci. At noon, it was time for lunch. Shen Mengyao happily took out the lunchbox I had prepared. Before, she didn't really look forward to lunch because she ate very little. To her, eating even felt like a bit of a waste of time. But now, she felt that the thing she looked forward to the most was eating. When the lunch break was about to end, the homeroom teacher slowly walked up to the podium. "All right, I have 2 things to announce." The teacher's voice made the resting students immediately look up. "First, we have a monthly test coming up. It's next Tuesday. Everyone please study hard and try to get good results. Second, at the end of the month is our school's sports festival. This is your last sports festival in high school." Hearing about the sports festival, everyone's faces lit up. After all, for them, the academic pressure was too great. And this 2-day sports festival was undoubtedly the best opportunity for them to relax. They could take this chance to have fun. The sports festival events are listed on the paper. Participation is voluntary. Then there's the performance for the opening ceremony. This time, it's entirely up to you to discuss and decide on your own. Class president, P committee member. These 2 matters are your responsibility. The teacher gave all the forms to Shen Mengyao, who was sitting in the front row, then left the classroom. The next second, everyone crowded around, ready to gossip. Of course, Lubo was there too. After all, he was the P committee member. As soon as he heard he could be in charge of this with Shen Mengyao, he immediately perked up. Everyone around was chattering excitedly. It was so noisy that Shen Mengyao's ears were ringing. The classroom was in chaos. All right, Shen Mengyao quickly called for them to stop. "The sports festival is at the end of the month. There's still plenty of time. What's more important now is the monthly test next Tuesday. Anyone who wants to sign up for an event can do so. The rest of you should focus on studying. As for the opening ceremony performance, let's talk about it after the monthly test." Lubo at her side also quickly supported her. "Yes, listen to the class president. All of you go back. If you want to sign up for an event, come find me." Tangzi was woken up by the noise. She raised her head, looked at me bleary-eyed, and asked, "What's going on?" "Monthly test next Tuesday. Sports festival at the end of the month." Tangzi yawned. "Oh, can we skip the sports festival? Let's just go to the internet cafe, otherwise, it'll be boring to death." "Probably not." Compared to the sports festival, I was more worried about what to do for the monthly test. At this moment, I was scratching my head with both hands, already starting to get a headache. The value of being ranked 200th in the grade is truly something. This time I have to improve my rank by 50 places. I really don't have any confidence at all. "Do you need me to tutor you this weekend?" "No thanks. I really can't keep up with your way of thinking. Thinking about how even Shen Mengyao has to explain for a long time before I can understand. And Tangzi, she's not someone who knows how to teach others. She'll just give you the right answer, let you figure out the process yourself." "All right then, I'll log into your account tonight and do your quests for you." "Okay." I nodded helplessly. In the evening after school, I left school to go home. This time, Shen Mengyao didn't hurry to follow. After all, she knew where my house was. She left school with Liu Ying and Tianrun, talked for a while, and then said goodbye to them on the way. When she knocked on the door to come home, she found that I was already cooking dinner. While the two of them were eating together, Shen Mengyao wanted to find a topic of conversation and asked, "Are you interested in the sports festival? You're so good at sports, if you participate, you could definitely win a few gold medals." But I shook my head. "Not interested." "What about Tangzi? Do you think she'd want to participate?" Shen Mengyao didn't give up. She had thought of Tangzi. After all, in terms of sports, Tangzi is on par with me. Participating in the girls' events would definitely be no problem. Her? It would be great if she didn't fake being sick and take the day off. And you want her to sign up for an event? No way. Shen Mengyao showed interest, raising an eyebrow. "Why not?" "Then I can bet you. If she agrees to participate, then I'll participate. Deal?" Hearing that, Shen Mengyao smiled and nodded. "Okay, then it's settled." Although she didn't know if she could persuade Tangzi, but if she could, she would also get me as a bonus. With these two powerhouses, she felt there was no way they wouldn't win this small competition. After dinner, Shen Mengyao and I studied at the desk. Now I was making use of every second. With Shen Mengyao's help, I didn't get stuck anywhere. My study efficiency was very high. Shen Mengyao looked at the clock, then at my side profile, looking like she wanted to say something but hesitated. After hesitating for a few seconds, she slowly began to speak. Hey, can I go take a shower? Of course, go take a shower. Hearing that, I couldn't help but be a little stunned. If you want a shower, just go. Why do you have to ask me? But of course, Shen Mengyao had to ask. She couldn't really treat this as her own home. Okay. Shen Mengyao slowly stood up and went into the bathroom. She was a little nervous. Not long after, the sound of water came from the bathroom. Although the door was locked tight, but the thought of me sitting right outside still made Shen Mengyao's heart pound. After she finished showering, she dried her hair in the bathroom, and when she came out of the bathroom door, she found me still sitting there studying. My posture hadn't even changed. She felt I was a bit too hard-working. At this rate, I'd probably get tired. After all, studying isn't something that can be done overnight. Balancing work and rest is very important. I see you have a computer in your room. Don't you usually play on it? Of course I do, but aren't the exams coming up? There's no time. I thought about how before, I would play games as soon as I got home, grinding games with Tangzi, but she never neglected her studies, ranking in the top 20 of the whole grade, while I ended up ranked 200-something, and she even went to the internet cafe with me occasionally. Actually, you can play a little. You don't need to study continuously, you'll get tired. How about you? Take a break and play for a while. Shen Mengyao knew she couldn't persuade me. After all, she had seen my stubbornness. However, after she said this, I hesitated and stopped writing, looked up at Shen Mengyao and asked tentatively, Really? Is it really okay? Of course, this is to relax your mind so you can study better. Then I'll listen to you. Haha, then I'll just play for a little while. After saying that, I stood up and ran straight into the room, because ever since going to the internet cafe with Tangzi, I hadn't played any games. Every day I listened to Tangzi talk about this and that in the game, which made me itch to play. Now that Shen Mengyao said it was okay to play for a bit, I naturally followed her advice. The words of someone in the top 5 of the entire grade surely can't be wrong. At this moment, Shen Mengyao was a little stunned. She didn't expect me to actually listen to her. Or was it that I also really wanted to play games? Immediately, Shen Mengyao also followed me into the room and saw that I had already turned on the computer. She sat on the edge of the bed, wanting to see what I was playing. As a result, the game I opened, she didn't understand it at all. I seemed to have opened a chat window with someone. Then she saw me place the headset on the table and turn the volume to the maximum. Hello? Can you hear me? Hearing this voice, Shen Mengyao was a little surprised because the voice coming from the headset was Tangzi's. Yeah, I can hear you. Why are you online today? Aren't you busy studying? Balancing work and rest? Then come help me with a quest. I've already invited you to the party. Shen Mengyao silently observed from the side. Seeing me so engrossed in the game, she didn't dare to make a sound, afraid that Tangzi would hear her. But then, the voice on the other end suddenly changed, turning into that of another woman. Is that you, Guqi, dear? And after hearing it, I hurriedly replied, Ah, yes, auntie. It's me, Guqi. My voice was very soft, and also very careful. It was Shen Mengyao's first time hearing me speak like this. It felt like she was discovering another side of me, which was very interesting. See, I thought I heard your voice just now. When are you coming over to visit? Your uncle and I both miss you. Come over and I'll make you something delicious. The woman's voice was very gentle, soft, and whispering. Her tone was just like my mother's. Ah, auntie, next weekend. You'll come over next weekend. Then it's a date. You'll buy groceries next weekend. Don't you dare not show up. Okay. Shen Mengyao listened from the side, but her eyes couldn't help but show a trace of envy. This is the feeling of having family, of having someone who is thoughtful, of having someone who cares. Even if you live alone here, there are still people who miss you. Unlike me. Just thinking about what happened to her recently, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. Shen Mengyao hung her head low. Her heart felt like it was being cut by a knife, a burning sensation, and her eyes seemed to be covered by a layer of mist. And I also noticed at this moment that Shen Mengyao's state was a bit off. Then I ended the conversation with my aunt and turned off the game and the computer in front of me. Shen Mengyao quickly turned her head away. She didn't want me to see her current state. Although she tried to look forward, but just thinking about the past still made her sob. What could she do? She was just a girl who had recently come of age. At this moment, I looked at her and said softly, I think you need to talk to me. Talk about what? As soon as Shen Mengyao spoke, tears couldn't help but fall. Her nose stung, so her voice was choked with emotion. About you, of course. You must have a lot of things you haven't explained. For example, why you have no place to live. Although I've always had these questions in my heart, I was afraid of touching on Shen Mengyao's pain, so I never asked. But today, I felt it was time for Shen Mengyao to speak up. After all, having someone to listen might make her feel a little better. I don't want to talk about it. Shen Mengyao kept her head down, tears streaming down her face, sobbing softly. Seemingly guessing that Shen Mengyao didn't want to talk, I stood up and walked to the bedside and gently placed my hand on Shen Mengyao's shoulder. Didn't you say you wanted to look forward? Then you must say it. You don't have to bear the sadness alone. You can tell me anytime. At least you can have someone who understands how you feel. Shen Mengyao looked up. tears still lingering in the corners of her eyes. But after seeing my gaze, the sadness in her heart inexplicably lessened by half. I have no place to stay. Because I don't have a home anymore. That house doesn't belong to me and I can't live there. Then who does it belong to? I don't quite understand. It seems there's a hidden story behind this. I took out some tissues and gave them to Shen Mengyao to wipe her tears first. After her mood had stabilized a lot, I slowly started to speak. My family is a remarried family. I went there with my mother. My father also has his own child, but that child is from his ex-wife. After they passed away, my father's ex-wife brought his son and took over the house. Because his name is on the house deed. He is a co-owner. He didn't ask for the house when they divorced, but now they've come to claim it. I had no other choice. So I don't have a place to live anymore. Hearing this, my eyebrows practically knitted together, and my expression was very grim. Isn't this just taking advantage of a difficult situation? I can't believe there are people so shameless. So he's not planning to compensate you at all? Shen Mengyao shook her head, almost in complete despair. I also felt that my question was pointless. If he could go so far as to take advantage of the situation like this, how could he possibly have a conscience? When my mother remarried my father, all our relatives disagreed. So now that things have come to this, no relatives want anything to do with me. Behind my back, they all call me a bastard child. What about your biological father? Can't find him. There's no contact information whatsoever. I haven't seen him in many years. Besides, even if I could find him, he wouldn't care about me. After Shen Mengyao said this, her mood clearly stabilized a lot. Perhaps because these words had been pent up in her heart for so long, it was really making her unable to bear it. I nodded silently beside her, as if I understood Shen Mengyao's troubles. I really didn't expect Shen Mengyao to be shouldering such pressure from life, facing these things, these experiences, having nowhere to go in the pouring rain, even in a situation where she might not live to see tomorrow. She only cried. She didn't seek revenge on society, didn't give up, didn't commit suicide. Now, she can even go to school normally, and you can even see her smile. I feel that she's already strong enough, so strong that it makes me see her in a new light. I especially admire her. Thinking of this, I secretly made a decision in my heart. If heaven has arranged for me to help Shen Mengyao, especially such an outstanding girl, her future shouldn't be hindered by these external factors. I patted Shen Mengyao's shoulder and said, "Don't think about anything. You don't need to worry about anything. I've already solved your food and housing situation. You don't have to worry about living expenses either. I'll give them to you. Until you start working, earn money, and can support yourself. Just focus on your studies and live well, that's all." Hearing this, Shen Mengyao looked up, her eyes immediately filled with astonishment. Her face was a picture of disbelief. Her mouth hung open in a daze. "I can't bear to see a good student crushed by life. Don't you worry. My family's financial situation is quite good. My monthly allowance is quite a lot. If you play games, you'd know just by looking at my in-game equipment. I'll give you half of my allowance every month." Shen Mengyao hurriedly waved her hands to refuse. No. How could I? We're just classmates. Treating me like this, I don't dare to accept." She couldn't believe that I could make such a promise to her. They were just high school classmates. Besides, they barely knew each other for 2 years at school. Now I could actually say that I wanted to support her financially. "All right, don't be stubborn with me. You know you can't out-stubborn me. My biggest flaw is my stubbornness." Shen Mengyao knew this was true. She couldn't argue with me at all. Besides, she was living under my roof now. The first thing is to listen to the master of this house. She lowered her head, her voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. "Then, what do you need me to do?" I scratched my head in confusion. "Do what? After a man supports a woman financially, isn't there always something they do?" Shen Mengyao knew that if she accepted, she would definitely have to pay a corresponding price. After all, there's no such thing as a free lunch. When she said this, her face immediately flushed red to the tips of her ears. She didn't dare to look me in the eye anymore. I rubbed my chin and spoke nonchalantly. "The term financially support isn't quite accurate, but I do need you to do one thing." Hearing this, Shen Mengyao's face turned beet red. Like a frightened fawn, her whole body trembled slightly, but she still managed to force a sound from her throat. For her right now, this opportunity was very rare. She had to survive. Only then could she think about other things. For example, her studies, her dignity, even her body. If it had been someone else, she probably would have refused without a second thought. But the other person was me, and she calmly accepted it in her heart. I nodded. My family said that if my ranking doesn't improve by 50 places in this monthly exam, they'll cut my allowance. So for the sake of our allowance, you help me study. Try to help me improve my grades smoothly before the monthly exam. On the other side, Lu Ying suddenly woke up with a start from her dream and shot up into a sitting position. She felt she was covered in a cold sweat. It was late at night now and the room was extremely quiet. Only the ticking of the clock could be heard. Lu Ying panted, trying to regulate her breathing. After calming down, she quickly grabbed the phone by her bed and found that there were still no messages. A dream is a dream. She put the phone down, but she couldn't stop replaying the scene from her dream. I don't know if it's because she was thinking about it so much before she went to sleep, but the dream she had was about me. In the dream, the story of how they met and got to know each other was replayed once more. There were also some things that weren't real. They were even together in the dream. Their relationship was getting better and better. But the good times didn't last long. Someone appeared between them, ruining their relationship. That person was Tang Zi. That's why she suddenly woke up with a start. She had originally decided to give up on me, but now, Liu Ying didn't know why, but at this moment, her heart especially missed me. The kind of feeling where she couldn't wait to see me immediately. In the end, can I still not let him go? Liu Ying looked at the message on her phone that still hadn't received a reply and remembered her rejected request to talk to me. But even so, she didn't want to give up anymore. She even made up her mind she must try one more time before graduation. Isn't it just pursuing someone? Didn't I pursue her for 2 years? So what's wrong with her pursuing me in return? So what if I become a laughingstock? Let them laugh. She calmed down and thought for a moment. Her biggest rival right now was none other than Tang Zi, my deskmate. Our relationship was so good that it confused her. Even our personalities and so on were especially similar. It made her feel that maybe in the next second, the two of us would get together. So now she had to ask for help. And in her heart, the person who could absolutely not be a rival, with a danger index of 0, was Shen Mengyao, naturally became her first choice. Mengyao, I am counting on you now. Early the next morning, Shen Mengyao and I went out to go to school. But seeing Shen Mengyao's state today was completely different from yesterday. It felt like a lot of pressure had been lifted, and she looked incredibly relieved. There was also a faint smile on her face. Today is Saturday. School ends in the afternoon. We have tomorrow off. These 2 days are very important, so please help me study. Hearing this, Shen Mengyao turned to look at me and nodded vigorously. She gently agreed. Okay. Before, when we went to school in the morning, the two of them would always keep a distance. This was something Shen Mengyao did on purpose. It seemed she was afraid Liu Ying would see them and get suspicious. But this morning, Shen Mengyao walked beside me. Not too fast, not too slow. I glanced at her doubtfully and asked, "Aren't you afraid of being seen going to school with me?" "Not afraid. What's wrong with classmates going to school together?" That's true. The two of them walked into the school together. Just then, we suddenly saw a familiar figure appear ahead of us. After seeing that person, Shen Mengyao's eyes immediately lit up. Is that Tang Zi? That's right. I recognized her at a glance. That bag definitely belongs to Tang Zi. Then can I go talk to her for a bit? Of course. After getting permission, Shen Mengyao excitedly ran after Tang Zi. She hadn't forgotten my promise from yesterday. If Tang Zi participates in the sports festival, then he'll participate. If I dared to make that bet, it means that no matter how much she tried to persuade me, it would be useless. So she decided to use a little trick to win over the two generals, me and Tang Zi. Shen Mengyao ran up beside Tang Zi and said, "Hi." Tang Zi was chewing gum at that moment, blowing a bubble as big as her fist. As a result, Shen Mengyao's call startled her. The bubble popped with a pop and stuck right to the corner of her mouth. "Ah, sorry. It's fine." Tang Zi replied coolly, then took out the gum wrapper, spit the gum into it, and stuffed it in her pocket. Just as Shen Mengyao was about to say something, Tang Zi suddenly moved close to Shen Mengyao, making her tense up and forget what she was going to say. Huh? Tang Zi was only a step away from Shen Mengyao. She leaned over and sniffed Shen Mengyao, then sniffed her hair. After a slight frown, she broke into a knowing smile. Seeing this smile gave Shen Mengyao the chills. She forced a smile and tried to ask calmly, what is it? How does it feel at Guqi's house?" "Ah, it feels," Shen Mengyao reacted. Her face immediately filled with shock. Her face first turned pale, then flushed bright red. "Tang Zi, how did you know I was at Guqi's house?" "Just a guess. After all, the scent on you and Guqi is exactly the same. Even the scent of your hair is the same as his. A men's body wash plus the same shampoo. I don't think you two are in that kind of relationship. So I guessed you were staying at his house. You figured it out just like that? What if it was really just a coincidence? Then I just apologize to you. No big deal. At worst, I'm not Conan, so making a wrong deduction isn't that normal? Besides, even if I was just bluffing, you still admitted it, right?" Tang Zi gave a meaningful smile and a shrug, looking a bit smug, like a child who had just succeeded in a prank. Shen Mengyao immediately shut her mouth. Her face turning from white to red was quite a sight. This was the first time she had clearly felt the feeling of being intellectually bullied. She realized that perhaps I was right. If you spend a long time with Tang Zi, your self-confidence might really take a hit. In an instant, the words Shen Mengyao had prepared were all thrown out of her head. She knew that saying anything would be useless. Tang Zi would definitely see through it. She might even be tricked in return. But Tang Zi had no intention of letting Shen Mengyao go. She directly grabbed Shen Mengyao's wrist, flashed a wicked grin, and whispered, "All right, you should tell me why you're at Guqi's house. You should know what my relationship with Guqi is, right?" Afterwards, on the way to the classroom, Shen Mengyao told Tang Zi about meeting me and staying at my place. She just didn't mention what happened last night. She only said that she was currently staying at my house temporarily. After hearing about Shen Mengyao's tragic experience, Tang Zi also showed a serious expression. The teasing look from before was gone. "I see. My condolences." Tang Zi gently patted Shen Mengyao's shoulder, not knowing what words of comfort to offer. Shen Mengyao understood, after all. In this respect, she was very similar to me. After entering the classroom, the two of them went to their respective seats. But I noticed that Tang Zi's expression at her seat wasn't quite right, so I looked at her suspiciously. "What's wrong?" Tang Zi glanced at me and whispered, "No wonder you don't have time to play games with me. Turns out you're hiding a beauty in your golden house." I frowned slightly and understood what was going on in just a few seconds. I also knew I couldn't hide this from Tang Zi for long. She would find out sooner or later. "Sorry, I don't accept sarcasm." The corner of Tang Zi's mouth twitched up as she said, all right. I didn't mean to be sarcastic. I heard about the class president's situation. I approve of what you did." I stared at Tang Zi, hesitated for a moment, then slowly spoke. "You approve. If it were you, you wouldn't have done what I did, right? Although what you did is very much your style, I approve, but I wouldn't do it. Unless what? Unless you plan to be with her in the future." I didn't answer Tang Zi's words, but turned my head to look at Shen Mengyao. Coincidentally, Shen Mengyao also turned her head to look at me at that moment. After they looked at each other, Shen Mengyao gave a slight smile. Just a few seconds later, she turned her head away. I ground my teeth, my eyes deep, as if I was thinking about something. The next second, I spoke. "So, I am me, and you are you. We're not the same." Of course, there's no standard to judge right or wrong. You just need to do what you think is right. Tang Zi leaned back in her chair and nodded, agreeing with what I said. Then she added, "But I have a good impression of her. She has a particularly cute kind of foolishness, very fun to tease." "That's right. To you, everyone is foolish. By the way, so are you, big brother." "What do you mean, by the way? Don't say by the way next time. Also call me by my name. Otherwise, I'll get goosebumps." "How mean." Tang Zi and I looked at each other, and Tang Zi burst out laughing. After school, Shen Mengyao was preparing to go to the office alone to ask about the monthly exam next Tuesday. However, when she walked out of the office, she found someone at the door, waiting for her with their head down. "Liu Ying, what are you doing here?" "Waiting for you." "What's up?" Let's talk as we walk." The two of them walked leisurely down the hallway. Liu Ying recalled her firm conviction from last night and said, "Mengyao, I don't plan on giving up on Gucci. I want to try pursuing him." "Really? Then you should try." Liu Ying didn't expect Shen Mengyao to agree with her so readily. She thought Shen Mengyao would advise her to give up. "Really? You agree? Do you think I can do it?" "That, I don't know. But it's better for you to try than to have regrets later." You're right." Liu Ying received Shen Mengyao's support, and her confidence immediately soared. After all, without understanding and support in this matter, she really wouldn't have any confidence at all. "Will you help me?" Shen Mengyao was stunned to hear that. She didn't want to get involved, but seeing Liu Ying's expectant gaze, she couldn't bring herself to refuse. "All right then, but how can I help you? Didn't I already help you talk to him before?" "But it failed." Liu Ying fell into deep thought. Shen Mengyao showed a slightly troubled expression, because she knew that no matter what, I would never give Liu Ying another chance. And Liu Ying was her friend. If she kept helping Liu Ying bother me, what if I started to hate her? But on one side was her best friend, and on the other side was... To be honest, Shen Mengyao still didn't know what kind of relationship she and I had. Classmates? Friends? Or roommates? "That's it." Liu Ying suddenly looked at Shen Mengyao seriously and said, "Help me keep Tang Zi busy. How about it? Huh? Why keep Tang Zi busy? I think she's my biggest rival. You just need to try and get close to her, distract her. This should be simple for you, right?" "No, it's not simple at all." Time quickly passed until noon. At this time, I was on my way back from the restroom when I suddenly heard a faint call from behind me. Gucci. But when I saw the person behind me, I couldn't help but frown. Liu Ying. Before at school, on the surface she was my classmate, but she always pretended not to know me. Calling my name in the hallway like this had almost never happened. Now she seemed to want to say something to me, but it also seemed like she didn't dare to speak up. Timid, shy, and she didn't dare to look me straight in the eye. At noon, Liu Ying saw me leave the classroom and separate from Tang Zi, and knew this was her chance, so she acted immediately. Therefore, at this moment, Shen Mengyao was in the classroom keeping Tang Zi busy as planned. Shen Mengyao sat in my seat looking at Tang Zi beside her, hesitating to speak. Tang Zi put down her pen and looked up to ask, "What? Tang Zi, do you often play games with Gucci?" Tang Zi was stunned for a moment, then nodded. "That's right. Why? Jealous? Jealous of his own relative?" "Ah, no. What's there to be jealous of?" What am I jealous of?" Shen Mengyao immediately became flustered and hurriedly explained. Tang Zi suddenly moved her head close to hers, her stern gaze fixed on Shen Mengyao's panicked eyes. What's wrong?" Being stared at made Shen Mengyao even more flustered. In an instant, her ears turned bright red. A few seconds later, Tang Zi turned her face away and chuckled softly. "Nothing. Just kidding. Shen Mengyao's expression immediately froze. She felt like her heart was about to stop. At this moment, Shen Mengyao really wanted to say to Liu Ying, "How about you try to keep Tang Zi busy? Being here for just a moment without being teased to death by her is lucky enough." But Tang Zi suddenly showed an unusually serious expression, bowed her head, and lowered her voice to say to Shen Mengyao, "Gucci said he has feelings for someone again. Someone in our class. Do you want to know who it is?" "Who is it?" Shen Mengyao's eyes widened, her expression full of disbelief. Tang Zi clicked her tongue and shook her head. No, it's better not to say. He told me not to tell anyone. He'll get angry if I say it. Shen Mengyao bit her lip lightly, hesitated for a moment, then still spoke up. I promise not to tell anyone. Tangzi thought for a moment, then nodded. All right then. Then she waved her hand, signaling for Shen Mengyao to come closer. Shen Mengyao leaned her ear closer. Tangzi whispered in Shen Mengyao's ear, I don't know who he has feelings for, but I can see you have a lot of feelings for him. At this moment, Shen Mengyao was slumped over my desk, her 2 ears exposed and bright red, her small feet restlessly, rubbing back and forth on the floor. Tangzi laughed until she was in tears before stopping, reaching out to gently pat Shen Mengyao's shoulder and say, All right, sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean it. You're really just too easy to tease. I couldn't help myself. Shen Mengyao shrugged slightly, as if protesting Tangzi's apology, because now she felt she was too naive. Being teased by Tangzi to the point of losing all face, so embarrassed she wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Tangzi also felt that she might have gone a bit too far, so she comforted her in a soft voice. Don't be mad anymore. Actually, I think Gooch's feelings for you are probably a little special, you know. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let you stay at his house. If I had to choose who suits Gucci the most, I would definitely choose you. Hearing this, Shen Mengyao slowly raised her head, revealing one eye to look at Tangzi beside her. Are you teasing me again? No, this time it's from the heart, I swear. A slight smile appeared on the corner of Tangzi's lips, which made Shen Mengyao believe her words. She felt that this look of hers was much more trustworthy than when she had a serious face. All right? Shen Mengyao sat up. She thought for a moment before realizing, it seems I've been tricked. I haven't even been sitting here for 2.5 minutes, but it feels like my heart has been completely exposed. Why did I admit I have feelings for Gucci? And what's more, because of Tangzi's support, I felt happy. This is so embarrassing. When did you start having feelings for Gucci? Faced with Tangzi's question, Shen Mengyao was stunned for a moment. Her mind suddenly went blank. That's right. When did she start having this feeling? Could it be the words I said to her last night when I made those promises? Or was it when I made her lunch, when I treated her like a child? Or was it even earlier when I brought her home, cooked for her when she was cold and hungry, and got her hot water and medicine, forcing her to stay? After thinking for a long time, Shen Mengyao finally understood all of this. This feeling definitely didn't just appear at a certain moment. Suddenly and without any warning, it was from the day she met me that she started to slowly develop feelings for me. Then it grew stronger day by day, until now, she has to admit it. She would feel happy inside when I rejected Liu Ying. She would feel relieved knowing about my relationship with Tangzi and breathe a sigh of relief. She would even feel uneasy when a female classmate came to talk to me. If all these things can't prove that she has feelings for me, then she's just stubbornly refusing to admit it. Probably from the first day I stayed at Gucci's house. Shen Mengyao answered honestly. She wasn't worried or embarrassed at all because everything she has now was given to her by me. Oh, is that so? So are you really content with this now? Shen Mengyao was stunned and asked in confusion, What do you mean? Tangzi pointed her pen at the empty seat in front and said, I know what you're here for. At the same time you came here, Liu Ying went out to find Gucci, right? These past few days, she's been secretly watching Gucci and me as well. With her brain, she probably thinks I'm her love rival. Then she asked you to come here and chat with me so she could go find Gucci to prevent me from suddenly running out and catching them. Is that what happened? Shen Mengyao opened her mouth slightly, stammering for a long time, unable to say a single word. Tangzi reached out to stop her and said, You don't have to say anything to me. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with me anyway. I just feel bad for offending you earlier, so I wanted to help you a little. I know you're doing this for a friend, but are you really content with this? Tangzi's question completely stumped Shen Mengyao. Her brain had lost its ability to control itself. Her mind was a tangled mess. Seeing that Shen Mengyao didn't answer, Tangzi waved her hand and said, Of course, I don't understand love. If you're content, then just pretend I never said anything. Shen Mengyao took a deep breath and bit her lip hard. Her fists under the table clenched tightly. Her fingertips turned white from the force. Her heart also started to beat faster. At this moment, after being called over by Liu Ying, I didn't want to pay her any attention, but she rushed over and grabbed my sleeve, and just like that, dragged me to the top of the stairs, saying she wanted to talk for a bit. I didn't dare to forcefully push her away, for fear of making her fall. After all, I can't be that rough with a girl. Gucci, just say what you have to say. I frowned deeply. My tone clearly showed my annoyance, although this moment made Liu Ying feel a trace of fear and unfamiliarity in her heart. But she thought of her dream last night. Things have come to this point. It's not good to back down now. I know, I've promised you many times before that I would be with you, but I didn't keep my word now. Nothing I say can make up for the hurt I've caused you, but I still hope you can give me a chance. Can we still be good friends like before? No, I said concisely, without any extra explanation. I felt that any explanation would be useless. After saying that, I intended to turn and leave, but Liu Ying clearly had no intention of letting this rare opportunity go. She stepped forward and reached out to grab my arm. Then what do I have to do, for you to forgive me? I frowned deeply, shaking my arm, but there was no way to shake Liu Ying off. Clinging to me like this gave me a headache. In my heart, I wondered why Liu Ying was a girl. If this was a boy, I would have definitely used violence. Now I can only hope to get to class quickly, so you're here. At this moment, the two of them suddenly heard a familiar voice. Turning their heads to look, they found that Tang Zi had arrived at some point, and behind her was Shen Mengyao. I need to talk to you. Come with me. Tang Zi almost completely ignored Liu Ying and strode forward to pull me away, leaving Liu Ying stunned and speechless on the spot. Shen Mengyao walked over and said in a low voice, "Sorry, Liu Ying, I couldn't stop Tang Zi. There was nothing I could do." At this moment, I immediately sighed in relief and whispered to Tang Zi, "Thanks." But Tang Zi glanced back. "No need to thank me. I was just helping someone. I owe her." Saturday classes ended around 4:30 p.m. I was worried someone would stop me again, so I left the classroom immediately after class ended. Shen Mengyao finished packing her things and saw that Liu Ying wasn't in a good mood. She didn't know how to comfort her either. It seemed that what happened at noon had a big impact on her. Shen Mengyao shifted her gaze to Tang Zi, who was about to leave, and slowly followed her. Waiting until they were out of the school building, she hurried in front of Tang Zi. "Tang Zi, thank you for what happened at noon." At that time, she had thought for a long time and decided to ask Tang Zi for help. Tang Zi knew she wanted to maintain her friendship with Liu Ying, but also didn't want Liu Ying to get close to me, so she offered to play the villain. After all, didn't Liu Ying see her as a love rival? So just let her continue thinking that way. And so, the scene at noon happened. It's nothing, not to mention it's to make up for it with you, just based on, well, your current situation. Helping you is the right thing to do. Shen Mengyao now really felt that it was nothing. At least now, Tang Zi and I should be considered friends. All that teasing. She no longer held it in her heart. Shen Mengyao suddenly thought of something and asked, "Oh right, you're off tomorrow? Are you busy?" "No, unless staying home to play games counts as being busy." Then do you want to come to Gucci's house? Let's hang out together. It'll be more fun with more people, right? Tang Zi looked at Shen Mengyao beside her a little strangely. Her gaze seemed to be questioning. "Are you serious? After all, the holidays are finally here. Aren't you two going to have some private time at home? Doesn't Gucci have to study?" Yesterday I told him he needs to balance work and rest, and he quite agreed. Tang Zi nodded in response. "Okay, then I'll come over tomorrow." "Oh right, there's also..." Shen Mengyao thought of something. She took out from her bag the phone I gave her to use. "Can we be friends?" Sure." Tang Zi also took out her phone. The two of them became friends, becoming friends with a classmate. For Shen Mengyao, it's clearly a very simple and normal thing. But now, becoming friends with Tang Zi, she felt especially happy. Shen Mengyao and Tang Zi are walking together. What is this situation? Why isn't she with Liu Ying and the others? At this moment, behind Shen Mengyao and Tang Zi, two male classmates were following them. One of them was Lu Bo. Today he saw Shen Mengyao sitting in my seat and immediately felt something was wrong. After school in the evening, he secretly followed them, although he really wanted to know what they were talking about, but he couldn't follow too closely to avoid not being able to explain himself later, until Shen Mengyao and Tang Zi said goodbye and parted ways. Liang Jiaxiang patted Lu Bo's shoulder beside him and said, "All right, let's go home too. If we keep going, we'll end up in her living room. Let's follow a little longer. I want to know where her house is," Liang Jiaxiang said in disbelief. "Are you a pervert? Following a female classmate home? Then your political and ideological studies were a waste of time." "No, I mainly want to give her a gift. In class, in front of everyone. She definitely won't accept it. I think it's better to leave it at her door." "Wow, you're both a pervert and a scumbag." Finally, Lu Bo saw Shen Mengyao enter building number 6 before pulling Liang Jiaxiang to turn and leave. "Let's go. Come with me to look at gifts. I want to give her a surprise tomorrow." Liang Jiaxiang looked completely hopeless and sighed, as if he was at his wit's end. In the classroom, Liu Ying was in a heavy mood, so she packed up quite slowly. Tianrun walked over from the side with her backpack and looked at Liu Ying with suspicion. "What's wrong? You look like you've been dumped." Liu Ying suddenly looked up and looked at Tianrun with a desperate expression. Tianrun immediately covered her mouth, realizing she seemed to have said the right thing. Shen Mengyao arrived home and saw that the workbook was already on the table. "It seems I have already started studying." Thinking back to today's events, Shen Mengyao was filled with guilt. She knew very well that I didn't want to have any more contact with Liu Ying, but not only did she know and not say anything, she even supported Liu Ying. If I were to find out about this, she would surely end up like Liu Ying. What's wrong? I looked suspiciously at Shen Mengyao standing at the door, not knowing what she was thinking. No, nothing. She had already made a silent decision in her heart. She would absolutely not make such a mistake again. Although Liu Ying is my friend. But in terms of importance, I am still more important in her heart. Shen Mengyao quickly put her things down and sat down beside me saying, "Let me help you study." At this point, I admit that letting Shen Mengyao teach me was a very good idea. At least it gave me hope. Otherwise, with my previous learning progress, it would be great if my ranking didn't drop in this monthly exam, let alone improving by 50 places. I looked at Shen Mengyao beside me and suddenly thought about what happened at noon. Shen Mengyao was with Tang Zi. Tang Zi knew I was being bothered by Liu Ying, which means Shen Mengyao also knew, so I spoke up. "You and Liu Ying are good friends, right?" Yes. Shen Mengyao was stunned, then replied in a low voice. She felt a little uneasy in her heart, feeling that I already knew something and was about to question her. In an instant, countless possibilities flashed through her mind. Maybe I would kick her out, or from now on I would pretend not to know her, lumping her together with Liu Ying. After a while I continued. "Just do me a favor, don't let her bother me anymore. She's a girl. I can't do anything to her. Talk to her. I'm begging you." Shen Mengyao was a little stunned. She was dazed for a few seconds before reacting. "You're asking me for help?" That's right, girls. Problems should be handled by girls. Tangzi is not close to her. I can only trust you. Shen Mengyao sighed in relief in her heart, and also realized my trust in her. She nodded vigorously and said seriously, "Don't worry. From now on, as long as I'm here, I will absolutely not let her bother you anymore." Mom, thanks. After solving the problem with Liu Ying, now Shen Mengyao was wondering if she should tell me that she had invited Tangzi over. After all, this is my house. At that time, she just felt that with Tangzi and his relationship, I probably wouldn't object. So she made the decision on her own. Thinking about it now, it's better to ask, "Hey Guqi, I invited Tangzi to come over and hang out tomorrow. Are you okay with that?" Shen Mengyao lowered her head slightly. She was afraid I wouldn't agree, afraid of making a mistake. After all, she was staying at someone else's house. She had to be careful with everything she did and said, but I turned around, continued writing, and said, "Of course it's okay. I should thank you for that." Back in 10th grade, her mom told me that she hoped I could help her make some friends so she wouldn't be at school without even one person to talk to. She really overestimated me then, so for the past 2 years, I've been her only friend. You befriending her? Don't be fooled by her indifferent appearance. She's probably very happy, isn't she? Shen Mengyao's eyes widened, a little in disbelief. Was the truth as exaggerated as I said? She only knew that her own heart was blooming with joy, but looking at Tangzi's appearance, she seemed rather indifferent. Yeah, she told me, that she has a good impression of you. Really? As soon as Shen Mengyao heard that, her face lit up with joy, her eyes sparkled with happiness. Originally, she was worried if Tangzi disliked her, but now hearing me say it myself, she was immediately relieved. It was past 7 p.m., both of them were a little hungry. I was just about to get up and say I'd cook, when Shen Mengyao pulled me back and said, let me do it? Don't you want to make the most of your study time? Then she added, I just don't know if it'll suit your taste. It's fine, you can give it a try. I didn't mind at all because I really wanted to seize the time to study. If Shen Mengyao wasn't here, I would have just made some instant noodles to get by. Shen Mengyao went into the kitchen, remembering back when she was at home. She used to cook for her parents often. It's just a pity that she doesn't have that chance anymore. Although I wanted to study a little longer at this time, but my attention would still occasionally wander towards the kitchen because I had never seen Shen Mengyao cook. I was worried she might mess something up and make the food inedible, or accidentally have an accident, etc. All of which were possible, but fortunately, the process was quite smooth. About an hour later, I smelled a fragrant aroma coming from the kitchen. Shen Mengyao brought the food to the table and called me over. I put down my pen, stood up and saw the food on the table. The rice and 2 dishes were all vibrant in color, aroma, and taste. It doesn't look bad. Give it a try, Shen Mengyao said with a smile, gesturing for me to sit down. Picking up my chopsticks, I took a bite. At first, I frowned slightly, then silently nodded in praise. Mom, it's delicious, isn't it? As long as you like it? Shen Mengyao's anxious heart immediately relaxed. She was confident in her cooking skills, but she was still very worried that I wouldn't like it. Now it has met the standard, which is more important than anything. Shen Mengyao also sat down to eat and said, if you like it, let me do it from now on. That way you can save a lot of time. I didn't answer immediately, but looked up at my workout area. It's true that I haven't had time to work out for a long time, but in my heart, Shen Mengyao is a guest after all. How can I let a guest cook? After hesitating for a moment, I slowly spoke. Let's take turns. Every other day or every 2 days is fine. Shen Mengyao was stunned. After a while, she seemed to understand my meaning and nodded. Okay. After dinner, the two continued to study, until after 10 p.m., the two of them took turns taking a shower. After coming out of the bathroom, I sat at the table and picked up my pen, originally intending to study for a few more hours, but a sudden wave of sleepiness hit my brain. My eyelids suddenly felt heavy. I know this is because for nearly a week, I haven't been getting enough sleep, and thinking about the holiday tomorrow and school ended early today, I couldn't resist the sleepiness even more. So I quickly got up and went to the bedroom. I didn't even have time to cover myself with the blanket on my side before I closed my eyes and fell fast asleep. At this time, Shen Mengyao was still taking a shower in the bathroom, unaware that I had already gone to the bedroom. When she finished her shower and came out of the bathroom in her pajamas, she found that there was no one outside. My seat was empty. The book on the table was still open. She was a little puzzled. Where did he go? Shen Mengyao went into the bedroom and saw me lying on the bed, my eyes closed, my breathing even. She gently walked to the side of the bed, then covered me with a blanket. Good night. Shen Mengyao turned off the bedroom light and lay down on the other side of the bed. She was no longer as she was. On the first night, full of anxiety, lying on the bed felt like being at home, especially at ease, but compared to my deep sleep, Shen Mengyao was not sleepy at all. She started to recall the events of today. If you were to say her biggest gain today, it would be becoming friends with Tangzi. Shen Mengyao thought of what I had told her, and still found it a little hard to believe. In her impression, Tangzi was the hardest person to get close to. Would she really be happy to be friends with me? Shen Mengyao took out her phone and opened Tangzi's profile, discovering that, just like me, it was completely empty. If it were Liu Ying's profile, you would see many pictures of her sharing delicious food and beautiful scenery from her travels, Shen Mengyao thought. Tangzi probably isn't asleep yet. She suddenly had an idea. To message Tangzi, after a moment of hesitation, Shen Mengyao felt that a simple greeting would be enough. If she was busy, she probably wouldn't reply. Then she sent a greeting sticker. After sending it, she turned off her phone, feeling a little expectant and also a little nervous because Tangzi was someone she couldn't figure out. She couldn't imagine whether she would reply or not, and how she would reply. About 2 minutes later, Shen Mengyao's phone rang. She quickly opened her phone and found that it was indeed a message from Tangzi. "What's up? Shouldn't you be cuddling with Gucci and sleeping right now? Why do you have time to message me?" Shen Mengyao's eyes widened, stared in disbelief at the message on the phone, then she hurriedly glanced behind her. Luckily, he wasn't awake yet. If he had seen this sentence, then she would die of embarrassment. What, sleeping while hugging? We sleep separately. There's even a blanket separating us in the middle. Are you two really sleeping in the same bed? Shen Mengyao suddenly realized Tangzi only knew she was at my house, but had no idea where she slept. Wasn't this basically a confession? But Shen Mengyao also understood that explaining would be useless, so she told Tangzi the truth. Initially, she planned to sleep on the sofa, but I didn't let her, so they kept offering the bed to each other and ended up both sleeping on the bed. Anyway, since you two are already sleeping in the same bed, just make your relationship official. The content of the phone conversation made Shen Mengyao's heart pound. But before she could reply again, the phone suddenly slipped from Shen Mengyao's hand. Her body went stiff, because right now my hand was resting on her. It was as if I was hugging her in my sleep. A goo. Shen Mengyao mechanically turned her head to look at the face that was only about 10 centimeters away from her. Although this was my unconscious action while sleeping, what was she supposed to do now? Should she wake me up? But thinking about how this week, because of her situation, I had surely been under a lot more stress and fatigue, Shen Mengyao looked up at the dark ceiling, unable to close her eyes. She wasn't sleepy to begin with, and this situation made it even harder for her to sleep. Feeling my firm arm gave her an unusual sense of security. She even began to fantasize that if she were lying in my arms, it would surely be very reassuring. 20 minutes passed just like that. Shen Mengyao didn't move at all. But just then, my hand moved again, directly from Shen Mengyao's stomach, slowly moving up to her chest. Although it was through a layer of blanket, it still made Shen Mengyao's body tremble slightly. But luckily, not long after, I turned over again. Only then did her tense body relax. Gucci probably won't remember anything tomorrow, right? Shen Mengyao thought to herself, but in her heart, she wanted me to remember all of this. After trying for so long, Shen Mengyao finally felt a little sleepy. She soon drifted off to sleep. A few minutes later, I opened my eyes. My forehead was covered in a cold sweat. I was so scared right now. Actually, I had already woken up before I turned over. I discovered I was sleeping in the middle of the bed and my hand was even on Shen Mengyao, so I hurriedly turned to face the wall. That really scared the life out of me. What if Shen Mengyao wasn't asleep? She won't question me tomorrow, will she? When the time comes, he'll just pretend I don't know, that I was sound asleep at the time. That's right. The next morning, warm sunlight streamed through the curtains. Shen Mengyao opened her sleepy eyes. She pulled open the curtains and stepped out of the bedroom. At that moment, I had just finished making breakfast. As I was bringing breakfast to the dining table, the two of us looked at each other for a moment. What happened last night flashed through both our minds. Although I only had memories of those 10 minutes, I still knew what I had done last night. And as Shen Mengyao recalled last night's events, a blush unconsciously spread across her face. This was the first time in her life she had been hugged by a boy, and in bed, no less. At that moment, she felt my build was quite different from how I usually seemed. If she were in my arms, she would surely seem very small to me. Let's eat breakfast. I don't know if it was because I felt guilty, but saying good morning to Shen Mengyao for the first time really felt a bit unfamiliar to me. Okay, I'll go wash my face first. Shen Mengyao also noticed this detail. She quickly scurried into the bathroom. After she finished washing her face, the two of them sat down at the dining table and began a silent meal. Around 9:30, Tangzi knocked on the door. Shen Mengyao opened the door and saw Tangzi, and a smile immediately bloomed on her face. She looked especially happy. Tangzi, you're here? Yeah, where's Gucci? He's studying. We just finished breakfast. Tangzi entered the house, saw me studying at the other table, and she put down the other things in her hands. She carried a paper bag towards me. I looked up, a little surprised. What's this? My mom knew I was coming here, so she told me to bring you some food. It's so heavy, it's killing me. Tangzi moved her sore shoulder. Carrying these things here had exhausted her on the way. I looked into the bag. Inside was all sorts of food. Fruits, pastries, melon seeds, peanuts, 8 treasure kanji. It had everything. Thank Auntie for me. I put the paper bag on the floor and continued studying. Tangzi looked at the workbook on the table and said, You go play with Shen Mengyao first. I'm not waiting for you. I waved my hand, signaling them to go ahead. Although I saw that Tangzi brought a PS5 and really wanted to play, the most important thing right now was still to review. Shen Mengyao didn't know what that was. It looked quite big. But she also saw another box next to it. It seemed to be a gift box. Who did Tangzi bring it for? This is? Shen Mengyao picked up the gift box and asked Tangzi. Tangzi looked up and answered, That? I met 2 scammers at the door. One of them gave it to you. Scammers? Yeah. One is the class's P committee member, and the other is the life committee member. Shen Mengyao couldn't react for a moment. A moment later, she spoke up. Lubo and Liang Jiaxiang? They're scammers? No, wait, they were just outside the door. Yeah, the P committee member is a total liar. He lies without batting an eye. He said he found out you were here from Liu Ying. I think he must have been following you, following someone all the way to their home and secretly giving gifts. If this behavior happened to her, she would really call the police. Shen Mengyao looked at the gift in her hand and couldn't help but frown. She didn't expect Lu Bo to be such a person. Moreover, this isn't his house. It's Guqi's house. This would surely cause trouble for me. I stopped writing. I looked up at the two of them as if thinking about something. Then I reached out my hand and gently asked Tang Zi, "That Lu Bo, does he like her?" Tang Zi was skeptical. "The whole class knows about this. You don't know?" I shook my head, my expression sincere. About a week ago, whether it was Shen Mengyao or Lu Bo, I wasn't close to either of them. Back then, my daily life was going to school and confessing to Liu Ying. When I got home, I'd play games and exercise. I had no time to care about other people's business. I don't like him. Shen Mengyao blurted it out, her tone sounding very firm. Hearing that, both Tang Zi and I were stunned, staring blankly at Shen Mengyao. A reaction like hers was like she was in a hurry to explain. Shen Mengyao also seemed to realize that her reaction was a bit over the top. Her cheeks suddenly flushed red. "Ah, okay then." I nodded and stammered out a reply. In my opinion, Shen Mengyao's reaction must mean she really hates Lu Bo, which is why she rushed to explain like that. Tang Zi raised her hand and said, "Let's not worry about this anymore. Open the gift and see." "No, I'm not accepting his gift. Even if you want to throw it away, you should at least open it and see. When you go to school, he'll ask if you received the gift, if you like it, and if you don't even know what's inside, you won't be able to answer. If you were like us, not caring about other people's opinions and gazes, then you could do whatever you want. But aren't you the class president? Shouldn't you maintain a good relationship?" Hearing Tang Zi's words, Shen Mengyao hesitated a little. She definitely didn't plan to accept it. But what Tang Zi said made sense. As a class president, if there were divisions in the class, that would be her failing. All right then. I couldn't sit still for this either. I stood up and walked straight over. I also wanted to see what kind of gift Lu Bo had given. If he bought something good, I could also learn a thing or two for reference. Shen Mengyao slowly opened the gift box. Tang Zi and I both craned our necks to look, our faces full of curiosity. After opening it, something like a miniature carousel appeared before the three of them. Seeing this, both Tang Zi and I frowned in doubt, and I just asked directly, "What the hell is this? It seems to be a music box." Shen Mengyao took the item out. It was palm-sized in her hand, quite exquisitely made. The colors were also vibrant. "This is a gift?" Tang Zi frowned slightly, her face full of confusion. Shen Mengyao held it in her hand, and for some reason, felt a bit embarrassed, as if she were holding something disgraceful. She had seen the things I gave to Liu Ying, a whole box of love letters and gifts. Thinking back now, all she felt was jealousy. But this thing, she was dying of embarrassment. "Open it and see. Maybe something will jump out." I couldn't understand it either. If I were to guess, maybe there's some kind of mechanism inside, like a surprise or something. Oh. Shen Mengyao opened the music box. A gentle, melodious tune began to play. The carousel started to turn slowly, and small, colorful lights also lit up. But the three of us just stood there, waiting for about 2 minutes, and nothing about it changed. My mouth fell slightly open. I pointed at the thing and asked in a low voice, "Is this just a music box? This is so hard to judge. I'll look it up for you, to see what giving a music box means." Tang Zi also turned her head and took out her phone, pretending she had never seen it before. I also frowned, confused. If this was given to a normal friend or a classmate, that would be one thing. But to give it to someone you like, it's really too perfunctory. Shen Mengyao was now utterly helpless. She shouldn't have opened it. "This?" Shen Mengyao lowered her head and found what seemed to be a love letter in the gift box. But the content really made it hard for her to look at it directly. She had read the love letters I sent to Liu Ying. This one was written far worse. "All right, return it to him at school tomorrow. Come over here and play games with me." By now, Tang Zi had connected the PS5 to the TV in the living room. Okay, but I don't really know how to play games. It's okay, I'll teach you." In front of the TV, Tang Zi enthusiastically explained to Shen Mengyao, while I could only sit at my desk, forcing myself to focus on studying. About an hour later, Shen Mengyao came to my side and asked softly, "Do you want to take a break? Let's play games." "Okay." I didn't hesitate for half a second, throwing the pen in my hand aside. It was as if there was a spring under my butt. I shot up instantly and rushed to the living room. Shen Mengyao let out a secret laugh. She knew I couldn't wait any longer. Then Shen Mengyao picked up my workbook and nodded quietly. It was clear that I had improved a lot. At noon, Shen Mengyao originally planned to cook, but because there were no ingredients in the fridge, and she didn't know what foods I avoided, she could only let me go out to buy groceries. After I left the house, Shen Mengyao returned to the living room. She looked at Tang Zi, who was playing a game by herself. She suddenly remembered that she and I still had a bet, which was that if she could get Tang Zi to sign up for the sports festival, then I would participate too. Shen Mengyao looked at Tang Zi's back, thinking seriously. Not long after, the game image on the TV sparked an idea in her head. "Hey Tang Zi, how about we play a game where the loser gets a punishment?" Tang Zi turned her head to look at Shen Mengyao. "You want to compete against me? Forget it, you can't win. Let's give it a try." Shen Mengyao picked up the controller, ready for a showdown with Tang Zi. Although she knew her chances of winning weren't high, she could lose countless times. She only needed to win once. Winning once would be enough to make Tang Zi sign up for an event, character selection phase. Tang Zi spoke up and asked, "How acceptable can the punishments be?" "Anything." Shen Mengyao answered confidently. She was afraid that when the time came, Tang Zi would refuse to participate. After all, for her, there was probably no punishment she couldn't accept. "All right then, anything goes for me too." Tang Zi seemed very confident. Very quickly, the first round ended with Shen Mengyao's defeat. She didn't even last 30 seconds. Shen Mengyao couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. She thought she had a bit of a chance. Even though she didn't know how to play, it should at least be a 3-7 or 2-8 split, right? The result was a 10-0. She had absolutely no chance to fight back. "I lost. Name the punishment, then let's play again." "Let me think." Tang Zi smirked, revealing a small canine tooth. She started thinking. From her expression, Shen Mengyao felt a little worried. She wouldn't really make an outrageous request, would she? "How about this? Since it's the first round, your punishment is that tomorrow when you return that gift in front of the other students, you have to tell Lu Bo that I don't like you. Okay?" "No problem." Shen Mengyao agreed without any hesitation. In fact, for her, this wasn't considered a punishment at all. Very quickly, the second round began. This time, Shen Mengyao focused 120% of her attention, staring intently at the screen. Her fingers also pressed harder. This time, Shen Mengyao felt a glimmer of hope, because she had managed to take away quite a bit of Tang Zi's health. She felt that this hit-and-run style, this probing attack, was very effective. But reality proved that her gaming experience was ultimately no match for Tang Zi's. The second round, without exception, ended in another loss. "Hey, let's play again. Name the punishment." Tang Zi was a little surprised. She asked in surprise, "Still playing? What is it you want me to do anyway? Trying so hard like this?" You'll tell you when I win. Assuming I can win." Shen Mengyao was losing some confidence. She kept feeling like she wouldn't be able to win a single round in the end. "All right, then the punishment is..." Later, when Gucci gets back." Tang Zi hesitated, paused for a few seconds, then said, "You have to give him a kiss then." "Shen, what?" Shen Mengyao's eyes immediately went wide. She looked at Tang Zi with a disbelieving expression, thinking she was joking. Tang Zi quickly added, "But just a kiss on the back of his hand. Even if it's a joke, you can't actually kiss his face or lips." Hell get really angry. When that happens, Hell definitely pull my ear and scold me. He would get angry? Yeah, if it's not a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, he really hates jokes like that. He feels it's disrespectful to both sides. Is that so? Shen Mengyao nodded. She thought I would be angry because of her. Hearing that this was the case, she also breathed a sigh of relief. She could also understand my way of thinking. In a non-romantic context, a joke like that is really not good. But even so, she felt a little disappointed in her heart. "Okay, I accept. Let's continue." Shen Mengyao couldn't wait to start the next round. She felt all of this was worth it. After all, it was to set the stage for her request. Just as this round started, Tang Zi seemed to let her guard down a bit. She felt that Shen Mengyao being too serious wasn't good. It might affect Shen Mengyao's enthusiasm for the game. If she got angry, that wouldn't be good. It's just a game. The main thing is to have fun. But Shen Mengyao remained very focused and was improving at lightning speed. After 2 rounds against Tang Zi, she had gained quite a bit of experience. Coupled with Tang Zi letting her guard down, she managed to take a good amount of health in the early stage. Shen Mengyao's hands trembled slightly from the tension, so her intention was to stall for time. Wait for the timer to run out. She just needed to have more health than Tang Zi, and she would win. The final 10 seconds. Shen Mengyao stopped defending and began to attack fiercely. Her fingers moved at an extremely fast pace, but just then, the main door opened, and I walked in, carrying the groceries I had bought. I am back. And at that very moment, Tang Zi glanced at me, getting distracted, and Shen Mengyao seized the opportunity. In that brief half-second, she landed another hit. "Yeah, I won!" Shen Mengyao jumped up in excitement. Her heart felt like it was about to leap out of her chest just now. Because their health bars were so close you could barely tell who had more. But luckily, the goddess of fortune was still on her side. She won by an extremely narrow margin. I was stunned for a moment, not knowing what Shen Mengyao was cheering about. Why was she suddenly so excited? Is she someone who really loves games? To be this happy after winning? Tang Zi leaned back on the sofa, looking up with a helpless expression. If she hadn't intentionally gone easy at the beginning, she wouldn't have lost. Mainly, she also really didn't have the heart to beat Shen Mengyao anymore, but it was very clear that she didn't understand Shen Mengyao. Shen Mengyao had already secretly decided in her heart that even if she lost repeatedly, she wouldn't give up. She had to win 1 round. All right, name the punishment. Seeing Shen Mengyao so happy, Tang Zi's mood wasn't too bad either. This was the meaning of gaming, she thought. Punish me? Hearing this, I put the groceries on the table and walked towards them. At this moment, Shen Mengyao could finally reveal her long-prepared scheme. Then you have to sign up for an event at the sports festival. Signing up for a few events is fine. Tang Zi was immediately so surprised her jaw dropped. She looked at Shen Mengyao with a face of disbelief. She was still guessing what kind of punishment Shen Mengyao would give me, but she never expected it to be this. For her, this was truly a real punishment. No, that's not it. Wait, I don't understand. What are you two doing? I stood by, bewildered. Just in the time it took me to go buy food, how did things seem to develop so strangely? Then Shen Mengyao recounted the story of them playing a game with punishments for losing. She lost the first 2 rounds, but she won this round. What she just said was the punishment she came up with. When I heard that Tang Zi had actually lost, my face immediately filled with shock. I stared at Tang Zi and said loudly, "Tang Zi, you actually lost. You're so lame. Are you putting on a show for me? Huh, what's going on? What does it have to do with you?" Tang Zi looked at me and asked with confusion. There was even a hint of dissatisfaction on her face, and at this moment I looked completely helpless, holding my forehead with my hand. But I knew why. Shen Mengyao made such a request. The main reason was that bet. Shen Mengyao was extremely happy right now. She looked at Tang Zi and asked expectantly, "Are you willing to accept?" She knew Tang Zi hadn't taken the previous 2 punishments seriously. She probably even thought it was all just a joke. As a result, she dropped such a bombshell herself, directly leaving Tang Zi stunned. Tang Zi glanced at her, clicked her tongue, and muttered, "If I had known you were going to play this big, then the difficulty of the punishment I told you should have been a bit higher. It's okay, you can also refuse." Shen Mengyao was also a little embarrassed. After all, someone else saying it and her saying it are on completely different levels. She only hoped Tang Zi would participate, but she was also considering it from the class perspective. From a friend's point of view, she actually didn't want to make things difficult for Tang Zi and me. Tang Zi waved her hand and said it wasn't necessary. "I accept. If you accept the bet, you accept the loss," although she didn't want to participate. But who told her to agree in the first place? Well, some were happy, some were sad. Shen Mengyao smiled and nodded, while I still had an expression of disbelief. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Tang Zi also realized something was wrong. She poked me with her hand and asked. I didn't answer, but Shen Mengyao told Tang Zi about the bet she and I had made. This meant that I also had to sign up for the sports festival. Oh, in other words, you have to sign up too. After hearing the explanation, Tang Zi immediately became interested. There was even a sly smile on her face. This is more like it. I feel much better now. Tang Zi nodded with satisfaction. Originally, the thing that annoyed her the most was being made a fool of by me. But now that I have to participate too, this unpleasant situation no longer exists. "Hey, those 2 things you said to her earlier, what was the punishment for Shen Mengyao?" I asked doubtfully. Tang Zi and Shen Mengyao looked at each other. Shen Mengyao immediately understood. She knew it was time to carry out the punishment. She came in front of me. While I was in a state of complete confusion, she slowly pulled my hand up and bent down, pressing her thin lips together. She gently kissed the back of my hand. I stood there completely stunned. I didn't understand what was happening. Was it some kind of ancient ritual, or was she imitating how foreigners greet each other? After Shen Mengyao raised her head, her cheeks were slightly flushed. She whispered to me, "Sorry, this is my punishment." I was stunned for a moment before reacting. I slowly glanced at Tang Zi next to me. Tang Zi shrugged, revealing an innocent smile. But her eyes were watching my expression, although she usually bickered with me. That's because she knew I didn't mind. But if she really angered me, she was still quite afraid. Having achieved her goal, Shen Mengyao spoke up. "I'm hungry. I'm going to cook. You 2 can play." After saying that, she immediately escaped to the kitchen. She used this method to force me and Tang Zi into this. She was also afraid of being retaliated against. After escaping to the kitchen, she began to reflect on her actions, thinking to herself that she was such a despicable person. But at this moment, in my and Tang Zi's hearts, there wasn't the slightest bit of dissatisfaction with Shen Mengyao. After all, we had agreed to the punishment ourselves. We also made the bet ourselves. If they were to blame anyone, they would only blame themselves for being too hasty. Forget it, I've already agreed to it. Anyway, it's the last sports festival of high school. It's good to have some fun. I sat on the sofa with my legs crossed and muttered. But in reality, this was just me comforting myself. That's right, let's think about which events to sign up for. She didn't say how many events to sign up for, did she? So, is signing up for one event enough? I don't know. Tang Zi and I both looked at Shen Mengyao in the kitchen and whispered something. If we only sign up for one event, then it's still manageable. It wouldn't be a big deal for them. So what event are you planning to sign up for? Shot put? Or maybe a sprint? But long-distance running is out of the question. Let the PE specialist do that. Hearing me, Tang Zi nodded and said quietly, "Big muscles, poor stamina, right? For a muscular guy like you, making you do long-distance running is really asking too much, but I can do it, so I'll sign up for long distance." Hearing that, I was full of question marks. I slowly turned my head, my brows furrowed, and spoke up. "What do you mean by that? Can't I run long distance? Let me tell you, I can run too. I do cardio normally, you know. I also train my legs often. Not running long distance is just to give the track and field athletes a chance to shine. If I were to participate, then there'd be nothing left for them to do." As I spoke, I rolled up my pant leg, revealing my leg. The moment I flexed, the muscles on my leg popped out. The definition was incredibly clear. It looked very powerful. Tang Zi pretended to be innocent. "But do you remember? That one time we ran a marathon. You ran halfway and then..." "That was because I had low blood sugar, you know? It's not that I couldn't run." Tang Zi took out a lollipop and placed it in my palm. Then a meaningful smile appeared on her face. "Oh, is that so? Then this time, you can just eat candy and watch me run." My eyes widened, an expression of disbelief on my face. Then I raised my hand and pointed the lollipop at Tang Zi, saying, I'm definitely signing up for long distance. The 1500 meters, all right? You'll see. Just you wait. If I don't get first place, it'll dismantle all the equipment in my game account. Tangzi took that lollipop, tore off the wrapper, and shoved it straight into my mouth. Bro, don't push yourself. It's not that I'm saying you're no good, but that's just how it is. You have big muscles, so your energy consumption is definitely high. What are you doing? Just stick to shot put obediently. Don't get involved with long-distance running. I was speechless for a moment. The anger in my heart rose another level. The next second, I suppressed my anger and used a strange tone to slowly say, "You're right. At least with shot put, I'm guaranteed a win. But you can't guarantee a win in long distance. Don't cry when you lose." I won't know how to explain it to my aunt. Hearing this, Tang's expression immediately changed. She crossed her arms and said resentfully, "Gucci, you only beat me in basketball once when we were kids. Do you have to bring it up until now? Then why do you keep challenging me? You clearly know you can't win. I don't want to bring it up either." But you refuse to admit defeat. I spread my hands, as if I had won the verbal spar, looking extremely smug. Tangzi immediately stood up from the sofa. Staring at me, she frowned slightly. She said in a low voice, "Fine. Then I'll sign up for 2 events and win 2 gold medals. Let's see how smug you can be then." Are you kidding? I'll sign up for 3 events. I'll do 4. I'll not only sign up for the competitions, I'll also perform an act in the opening ceremony. So what? You know how to perform? The art awards I've received since I was a child are more numerous than the achievements you've gotten in your games. You're such a braggart. Shen Mengyao was busy cooking in the kitchen, completely unaware of what was happening in the living room. By the time she brought out the food and called them to eat, she found Tangzi and me standing face to face, like 2 enemies confronting each other, with serious expressions and sharp gazes. "Hey, you two, what are you two doing?" Shen Mengyao thought Tangzi and I were fighting. She hurried over to stand between us, but she didn't dare to stand too close. After all, if these two really got into a fight, it would be hard for her to mediate. I suddenly turned my head to look at Shen Mengyao and said, "Shen Mengyao, for the sports festival, the men's division, as long as the times don't conflict, sign me up for as many events as you can." "Me too." "All right, could you also ask the school if I can participate in the men's division competitions? I want to personally beat a certain someone in a competition, to let him know that being good at basketball doesn't mean you're an all-around athlete. You two are." Shen Mengyao, standing in the middle, was also stunned. What's wrong with these two? For her to be able to use a little trick to get these two to sign up was already satisfying enough. She had thought they would each sign up for 1 event, at least 2 gold medals. That would have been enough. But in the time it took her to cook a meal, how did the 2 of us end up in a confrontation? "Oh, right. The opening ceremony performance hasn't been decided yet, right? I'll sign up for a performance. Martial arts. I'll sign up for dance." The 2 of them were no longer satisfied with competing in sports events. They had set their sights on the opening ceremony performance. Shen Mengyao was also in a very difficult position. After all, these matters were indeed up to her, this class president, to decide. But a class could only perform 1 act. Then can you two practice 1 act together? No way. Shen Mengyao's suggestion immediately received a perfectly synchronized, unanimous answer from Tangji and me. This gave Shen Mengyao a huge headache. It's truly easy to invite gods, but arranging them is much harder. If they weren't satisfied, wouldn't the resentment of these two be directed at me? Let me think about it. You two should calm down a bit. Let's eat first. The sports festival is still quite a while away. Shen Mengyao reached out her hands. Grabbing one person's wrist with each hand, she led them to the dining table. Right now, she could only use delaying tactics, temporarily not arranging our issue, procrastinating for as long as possible. Maybe they would change their minds in 2 days. Now Shen Mengyao somewhat regretted letting us sign up. Knowing this, it would have been better not to drag us into this mess, after dragging them into the water. These two were frantically pulling her down to the bottom. All right, the 2 of them nodded in agreement, and sat down at the dining table. Tang Zi picked up her chopsticks, looked at me and asked softly, "Oh right, I want to eat the eggplant dish you make. When will you make it for me again? Next time I forgot to buy it this time, or I'll make it for you when I go to your house next weekend." Shen Mengyao stood by the dining table, watching the 2 people in front of her make up in a second. She stood there, completely petrified. She was still worrying about how to be a peacemaker, to persuade us not to be angry. But how did we change our tune so quickly? Why aren't you two angry anymore? Hearing that, Tangzi and I looked up at Shen Mengyao and said, "We're just like that. We keep things separate. We don't bring the emotions from one matter into other matters. Since we decided not to think about it for now, we just act normal. Besides, we're not angry. It's just normal bickering, just competing with each other. It hasn't reached the level of a quarrel. Is that so?" Shen Mengyao slowly sat down, still finding it a bit hard to believe. These two could really compartmentalize. One second they were arguing about this. The next second they could normally discuss something else. Is this like saving the argument for later? No wonder she heard me say before that Tangji and I almost never fought. So this was the reason. Tangzi took a bite of rice. Her eyes immediately lit up. She looked at Shen Mengyao and said, "You're a really good cook. Your skills feel on par with Guqi's." "Not at all. I don't cook as well as Guqi, but it's good that it suits your taste." The 3 of them were eating. Suddenly, Shen Mengyao's phone rang. A video call appeared on the screen. After seeing it, she frowned in annoyance. Tang Zi pointed at the phone and asked, "What's wrong? Who is it?" Shen Mengyao stammered in reply. It's Liu Ying. I'll go outside to take it." Shen Mengyao thought that answering in front of me. Liu Ying's call wasn't very appropriate. Plus, there was a risk of her presence here being discovered, so Shen Mengyao instinctively intended to get up and go outside. However, before she could act, I waved my hand and said, "It's fine. Just take the call here. We won't make a sound." Shen Mengyao, who was getting up, sat back down. Since I had said so, she would just take the call here. Shen Mengyao accepted the call. Then Liu Ying's face appeared on the screen. "Mengyao, what are you doing?" I'm at home. What's up?" Shen Mengyao answered calmly, but her eyes unnaturally glanced at me and Tang Zi. Liu Ying on the other side seemed to be lying in bed, looking very bored. "Are you going out? Let's go to the mall." "No thanks, I have to catch up on my studies these 2 days. The monthly exams are coming up." "No way, you still have to study?" "As expected of a top student. What are the rest of us supposed to do?" "Oh right, what do you think that Tang Zi wants?" "I was talking to Guqi. She came and dragged Guqi away without a word. Do you think she realized what I wanted to do?" I don't know." Shen Mengyao instinctively glanced at Tang Zi and found that her expression hadn't changed. She was still quietly eating her meal, as if she didn't care at all about what Liu Ying was saying. She's so annoying. No wonder no one hangs out with her. You can tell just by looking at her that she's a manipulative girl. "Liu Ying, you're going too far. I think she's very nice. Besides, it's not good to talk badly about people behind their backs. I also don't agree with your view of Tang Zi." Shen Mengyao quickly moved the camera away. She looked at Tang Zi with an awkward expression. This Liu Ying really doesn't know how to watch her mouth. Tang Zi is right next to me. Tang Zi's movements only paused for a moment. There was still no big reaction. Shen Mengyao couldn't help but admire her a little. Tang Zi could really keep her composure, and really didn't care about others' gossip. If this were said about me, and I overheard it, I'd probably feel like crying the next second. Now she really regretted taking the call inside the house. All right, let's not talk about her anymore. Let's talk about Guqi. What do you think he's up to? Is he playing hard to get with me? Liu Ying, I advise you to stop clinging to Guqi. You and he really aren't compatible. Mentioning me, Shen Mengyao immediately thought about what I asked her to help with. I just want to be with him. Hurry up and help me think of a way. Liu Ying started rolling around on her bed, holding the phone, facing the phone. She started acting cute with Shen Mengyao on the other side. Shen Mengyao was also completely at a loss. When he pursued you for 2 years, you just needed to agree once. Would you still have these troubles now? You had to wait until his patience ran out before trying to win him back. And now you're asking me to think of a way. Right now, I'm the one being supported by him. What kind of way could I possibly think of? Liu Ying, if it really doesn't work out, consider someone else. Oh, right. What do you think of this move? Right now, Guqi definitely feels like he's popular, that someone likes him. So he's gotten arrogant. So I just need to bring him down a peg, right? What? What do you mean? Shen Mengyao furrowed her delicate brows slightly. A bad feeling suddenly welled up in her heart. I can spread rumors, to ruin his reputation. That way no one will pay attention to him anymore. When he's at his most helpless, he'll appear. I guarantee that to him then. I will be like an angel. You want to spread rumors about Guqi, and you want to ruin his reputation? What are you thinking? Since when did you become so malicious? At this moment, Shen Mengyao's expression suddenly became serious. There was even a flash of anger between her brows. What's wrong? Anyway, only you and I know, honestly. Right now, you're the only one I can trust. I don't even dare to trust Tianruan. Besides, this method is absolutely feasible. Although Guqi is well built, his mind is simple. Someone so foolish would definitely not know this is my plan. Liu Ying, I really misjudged you. If you dare to do that, let's cut ties. Also, don't speak ill of Guqi in front of me, Shen Mengyao shouted angrily, and immediately hung up the phone. She really couldn't stand Liu Ying anymore. Liu Ying was okay as a friend, but as a person, how could she be so shameless? If she treated others like this, Shen Mengyao would just simply despise her, advise her, but she wanted to treat me like this. Then Shen Mengyao absolutely could not tolerate it. She could even cut ties with her, and never associate with her again. After calming down a bit, Shen Mengyao raised her head and looked at me and Tang Zi awkwardly. This time, she had probably angered us. The insults and curses from Liu Ying on the phone, along with the criticisms, were all heard clearly by the people concerned, and she was her friend. We wouldn't take it out on her, would we? However, the result was, the emotions of the two people in front of her seemed extremely stable. Both were quietly eating their food, chewing. Even their expressions hadn't changed at all. It seemed only she had roared out, and was breathing heavily in anger. At this moment, I put down my bowl and went into the kitchen. When I came back, I had a glass of warm water in my hand. I pushed it in front of Shen Mengyao. Drink some water to cool down. No need to get angry over that kind of person. It's not worth it. Okay. Shen Mengyao held the glass with both hands, although she only took a small sip. The anger in her heart instantly vanished by half, because she actually heard me, gently comforting her like that. Originally, she was planning to comfort me, to advise me not to be angry. But how? Did I end up comforting her instead? Right. There's also Tang Zi. Liu Ying's insults towards Tang Zi just now were not light. Shen Mengyao shifted her gaze to Tongzi, trying to open her mouth to explain, to tell her not to be angry, but Tongzi seemed to have seen through her thoughts. She gently patted Shen Mengyao's shoulder and said, we're just careless in making a friend. It has nothing to do with you, don't feel burdened. Ah, okay, I know. Shen Mengyao was stunned. She nodded. She didn't expect that Tongzi and I were so emotionally stable, not angry, not losing our tempers over this. Meanwhile, at Liu Ying's house, she looked at the disconnected call on her phone, a little confused. Her whole face was filled with doubt and confusion. Shen Mengyao's angry emotions from just now still echoed in her head. Strange. Is she angry? Did I say something wrong? I didn't offend her. What a pity. She was clearly the most suitable person to carry out this plan. This plan of mine was designed for her. Liu Ying put down her phone and rested her arm on her forehead. Originally, she thought of having Shen Mengyao help her, to be the one to spread the rumors. Because Shen Mengyao has very good relationships in class, her words are very persuasive to others, no matter how absurd the rumor is. If it comes from Shen Mengyao's mouth, it will become the truth. By then, she would have successfully isolated me, although Shen Mengyao isn't helping her anymore. She doesn't intend to give up on this plan. Liu Ying thought for a long time. Finally, she thought of a boy who she had the best relationship with, Lu Bo. 4 in the afternoon, Tongji stood at the door, bidding me and Shen Mengyao farewell. Bye-bye, see you at school tomorrow. Shen Mengyao just thought about tomorrow, being able to continue hanging out with Tongzi, and she immediately felt very happy and looked forward to it. Tongzi left. I also returned to my desk, ready to continue studying, but I suddenly looked towards my gym equipment. I just felt like something was missing. I had enough time today. I've studied, and I've played. I haven't worked out for almost a week. Muscles are something you lose if you don't train. I even feel like I'm starting to lose muscle. Sigh, I'll just work out for a bit. Shen Mengyao came out from the kitchen with a plate of washed fruit. Just as she was about to tutor me, she saw me standing in the workout equipment area, warming up. Shen Mengyao's eyes widened. She was immediately interested. Then she quietly sat down to watch me work out. And every time I lifted weights, my firm muscles bulged. It made Shen Mengyao's heart pound. After working out all the muscle groups, I went to take a shower. Meanwhile, Shen Mengyao went to the workout area to put those things back in their original places. Seeing my sweat all over the floor, Shen Mengyao especially admired me. Under such great academic pressure, I could still find time to seriously train my body. This physique is something I deserve. After tidying up, Shen Mengyao stared at the other equipment, exercise bike, treadmill, and so on. She could probably use these things too. She was wondering if she should also exercise a little, train her body. I wonder what kind of girl Gucci likes. Does he like the active type, or does he prefer the more artistic type? Shen Mengyao stepped onto the treadmill, murmuring to herself. She tried to find something in Liu Ying, some good quality that attracted me, but it seemed she couldn't find any, yet she could make me chase her for 2 whole years. It's probably just because Liu Ying appeared early. Meeting Liu Ying at an age when one first learns about love, liking her, was something unavoidable. To be able to pursue her for 2 years also proves that I'm very faithful. Otherwise, with Liu Ying's attitude, a normal person would have given up long ago. At that moment, I came out after my shower and saw Shen Mengyao standing dazed on the treadmill. I asked doubtfully, "What's wrong? You want to work out a bit too?" I just want to try it a little." Shen Mengyao quickly stepped off the treadmill. She was shy about working out in front of me. After all, with her exercise intensity, to me, it would be like playing around. It's like a newbie at the gym for the first time, not daring to work out in front of an expert for fear of being laughed at. "Mom, go ahead and try. But your weight level must definitely be lighter. It's too heavy, you could get hurt." I walked over and started removing the weight plates, finally leaving only one small plate, about 2.5 kilo. "It should be fine now, give it a try." "No. I don't know how." Shen Mengyao was a little embarrassed. She wasn't too concerned about the weight. The main thing was that she had no idea how to work out. Although the movements I made were very simple, she knew that her form would definitely be wrong. Working out without proper technique would surely have serious consequences. "Let me teach you. Pick it up first." Shen Mengyao picked up the weight. This time the weight was indeed very light. Then I stepped behind Shen Mengyao and gently reached out to hold her hands. Shen Mengyao couldn't help but let out a soft gasp. Her body trembled noticeably. Behind her, she could feel it very clearly, my firm body pressing against hers, so close that she could feel my heartbeat. And when her hands were held by mine, it made her feel especially safe at that moment. Slowly feel where you're exerting force. Breathe evenly. Then I guided Shen Mengyao's body, letting her slowly perform the movement. At this moment, Shen Mengyao's mind was completely, not feeling any muscle contraction at all. Right now, just being able to stand still on the spot was already very difficult for her. I was pressed against her body, plus I had just finished showering, giving off a faint fragrance. This was the closest I had ever been to her in such a situation. How could she possibly concentrate? Just get used to the movement. If your form is off, you must adjust it in time. After guiding Shen Mengyao, I let her try it herself. Shen Mengyao did 1 set. I helped her correct her form again, like that. 10 minutes passed. Shen Mengyao felt her arms aching. It could be said that this process was quite painful for her, but the feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment afterward was quite addictive for her. Even though sweat had soaked her shirt and her hair was stuck to her forehead, her face was also flushed. She had a feeling that maybe she would come to love working out. In the evening, after showering, Shen Mengyao sat beside me and tutored me. It wasn't until late at night that the two of us went back to the bedroom to get ready for sleep. Shen Mengyao thought about last night and felt a bit complicated inside, but she still wanted to know, so she looked at me and said softly, "You seem to be struggling last night. You slept very soundly." Hearing Shen Mengyao mention last night, I immediately remembered waking up with a start last night. It seemed I was hugging Shen Mengyao. I don't know how long I was hugging her. Now that Shen Mengyao brought it up again, I could only awkwardly look away and answer, "Yeah. I was too sleepy yesterday. I fell asleep as soon as I lay down. I suddenly felt that Shen Mengyao and I maybe shouldn't be sleeping in the same bed anymore. What if I roll over and press on Shen Mengyao again? I won't get kicked off the bed, will I?" Thinking this, I pointed to the door and said, "How about I go sleep on the sofa?" Shen Mengyao seemed a bit surprised. She didn't know why I would suddenly suggest sleeping on the sofa. They had clearly been sleeping like this for almost a week. Forget it. Sleeping on the sofa isn't comfortable. Shen Mengyao shook her head, replying softly, "All right then. I'm just afraid you'll find it cramped." I lay on the bed, scooting towards the edge. The blanket separating us in the middle also moved a little. This way, I could give Shen Mengyao more space. But Shen Mengyao felt this was a bit absurd. Her physique and mine are very different. It's fine if her sleeping space is a little smaller. If my sleeping space is small, it would be very restrictive. Then I wouldn't even have room to turn over. It's easy to hit my head against the wall while sleeping. So Shen Mengyao moved the blanket back. I felt very conflicted inside. I felt that if I did something wrong, I should apologize and shouldn't avoid it. That's not my personality. "Hey, Shen Mengyao, you went to bed quite late last night, right?" I slowly spoke up, after a moment of silence. Shen Mengyao pursed her lips and replied, "I was too sleepy last night, so I was restless in my sleep. It seems I accidentally rolled over to your side, and even put my arm on you. Sorry about that." Shen Mengyao had her back to me. When she heard what I said, her eyes suddenly widened. She didn't expect that I remembered this. She thought I was unconscious at the time. "No. It's okay. Who can control themselves when they're sleeping? I don't mind these little things at all." Shen Mengyao's voice was gentle, and the corners of her eyes also curved up slightly. She really likes my straightforward personality and really hopes she can be like me. The next morning, I still woke up first, and quietly left the bedroom to make breakfast. 5 minutes later, Shen Mengyao woke up. She opened her sleepy eyes and rubbed them, was about to stretch and get up, but the aching pain from her arms and body made her, who had just woken up, get a rude awakening. It hurt so much that she sucked in a cold breath, and she immediately didn't dare to move her arms anymore. Even her legs couldn't exert any force, although she had a feeling that after working out like that last night, she would definitely be sore the next day. She didn't expect her situation to be this serious. It seemed like even getting up was a problem now. This was enough to prove that her physical condition was really poor. She tried to force herself to get out of bed. Then she endured the pain to fold the blanket. I was making breakfast when I saw Shen Mengyao walk out of the room. I was about to say good morning, but then I saw how she was struggling to walk. I immediately understood her current situation. I remembered back when I first started working out. I really had trouble even getting dressed and going to the bathroom, let alone going up and down the stairs. "Are you okay?" "A little." Shen Mengyao had a somewhat bitter expression and gave a wry smile. Now she could only walk slowly by holding on to the wall. If she walked a little faster, her muscles would hurt a lot as soon as they tensed. It's always like this at the beginning. Your muscles are adapting to your workout intensity. Just persevere and you'll be fine. I was a little worried Shen Mengyao would give up on working out, although whether she works out or not has nothing to do with me. I still hoped Shen Mengyao could share a common hobby with me. Mom, he'll persevere. Shen Mengyao had no intention of giving up either. The moment she thought about giving up and then working out again later and having to endure similar pain, all thoughts of giving up vanished. After washing up and eating breakfast and tidying up her things, she got ready to go to school with me. She put the gift Lubo gave her into her school bag, preparing to return it to him when she got to school. Moreover, she had to carry out the punishment Tangzi had set for him yesterday. To her, this was nothing. It was just expressing her true thoughts. She should have done this long ago, but in the past, her personality was always quite weak, so she always pretended not to know or understand. Now she was determined to change herself. This was the first step. Shen Mengyao wanted to put on her backpack, but the muscle soreness made even this small task a difficult problem. At that moment, I suddenly reached out my hand directly and took Shen Mengyao's backpack. "Let me carry it for you." "It's okay. I should do it myself. Don't push yourself. I understand how much pain you're in right now." Carrying Shen Mengyao's backpack, I walked straight to the door, giving Shen Mengyao no chance to object. Seeing this, the corners of Shen Mengyao's mouth curved up slightly. Then she walked out slowly, holding onto the wall. On the way to school, I didn't walk too fast. I always walked beside Shen Mengyao. When the two of us were in the hallway, we ran into Tangzi, who had also just arrived. But Tangzi noticed that Shen Mengyao's condition was a bit strange. I was carrying her backpack for her, and she was walking as if she couldn't lift her feet. She was even holding onto the wall. "What happened to you?" Tangzi walked over to Shen Mengyao and asked doubtfully. Shen Mengyao looked up at me and said softly, I exercised a bit last night, and ended up like this today." Tangzi was suddenly stunned. Then her eyes suddenly widened, looking at Shen Mengyao and me with a shocked expression. An image flashed through her mind. It was an incredibly intense, hormone-fueled scene. You two didn't exercise in the literal sense, did you?" Tangzi hadn't even finished her sentence when I cut her off, as if I already knew what Tangzi was going to say, and the image in Tangzi's mind immediately vanished. She pointed at me and looked at Shen Mengyao, asking, "Don't tell me you let him guide your workout?" "His training intensity. I only worked out with him once. and I was sore for 3 days straight afterward. My intensity is far less than his. Shen Mengyao replied with some embarrassment. At the same time, she was also feeling incredibly surprised by what Tangzi just said. Although Tangzi said she was also sore for 3 days, she had actually worked out with me. With that level of intensity, she was able to endure it. If it were her, she'd probably have to call an ambulance. Tangzi shook her head helplessly and said, "If you want to work out, I can guide you. It's definitely more effective than Gucci's guidance. He has no idea how girls work out. Hey, it's one thing to say you're good. Why did you have to turn around and diss me?" I gave her a glare, then walked into the classroom a step ahead. But when I entered the classroom, several pairs of eyes immediately stared at me. I didn't pay any attention to those gazes. I put Shen Mengyao's backpack at her seat, then went back to my own. Among the gazes on me, the most hostile one was from Lu Bo. He saw me walk in with Shen Mengyao's backpack and his heart tightened. Then he saw Shen Mengyao and Tangzi still talking about something. A moment later, Liu Ying entered the classroom. The first thing she did was look towards where Shen Mengyao was sitting. Yesterday, she had thought about it and felt she should apologize to Shen Mengyao. Shen Mengyao was the class president. After all, she would surely think about class unity. For me to ask her to do that was really a bit too much. She still cherished this good friend, Shen Mengyao, a friendship of over a year. She had long considered the other person her only best friend. Liu Ying walked straight to Shen Mengyao's side and reached out to gently pat Shen Mengyao's arm. "Hey Mengyao, good morning." Hiss. Shen Mengyao's eyes widened. She sucked in a sharp breath of cold air, then turned her head, frowning and glaring angrily at Liu Ying. Liu Ying was immediately stunned. She thought she and Shen Mengyao only had a small conflict, but her reaction seemed to be much angrier than she had imagined. "I just patted her once? Why is it like I've made her furious? Is that look supposed to mean she wants to eat me alive?" "Mengyao, are you still mad at me?" Liu Ying saw Shen Mengyao's expression, and she was actually a little scared. After all, she had known Shen Mengyao for so long, and it was the first time she had seen her like this. Shen Mengyao lowered her head and was silent for a long time. Then she slowly spoke. Liu Ying, from now on, we're just classmates." Hearing this, Liu Ying's mouth dropped open and she couldn't close it. She didn't expect things to be this serious. Shen Mengyao is the class president. Does she care that much about class unity? She just said a few bad things about Tangzi and then a few things about wanting to frame Gucci, and Shen Mengyao already wants to cut ties with her. It's not that serious, is it? I was just talking. I haven't actually done anything. You're not even giving me a chance to admit my mistake and change? That's not it, Mengyao. I know I said the wrong thing yesterday. I swear I won't say things like that again. And I won't do anything either. Can you not be like this? Don't we have a great relationship? Liu Ying's tone softened considerably. She really didn't want to lose Shen Mengyao as a friend. Their relationship was so good before, they talked about everything. But why is it that since Shen Mengyao was absent for over 10 days, she seems to have become a different person? Now she even wants to cut ties with her. She had never thought of these things. Hearing these words from Liu Ying, Shen Mengyao could also sense her conciliatory attitude. For a moment, Shen Mengyao even softened, but she still couldn't forgive Liu Ying's words from yesterday, so she didn't answer anymore. Choosing to lower her head in silence, Liu Ying saw that she was ignoring her and became a little anxious. She hurriedly reached out and grabbed Shen Mengyao's shoulder and said hastily, "It's true, Mengyao. Believe me." Hiss. Being grabbed, Shen Mengyao again sucked in a cold breath. The look she gave Liu Ying was especially terrifying. Liu Ying was so scared that she immediately retracted her hand. Hey, at that moment, Lu Bu, who had been secretly watching, took action. He saw that Liu Ying seemed to be in conflict with Shen Mengyao, and was even getting physical with her. He knew this was a good opportunity for him to step in, so he immediately shouted to stop Liu Ying's behavior, stood up and walked over. "Liu Ying, if you want to talk, just talk. Why are you getting physical? Can't you see Shen Mengyao is very uncomfortable?" Lu Bu stood in front of Shen Mengyao with the air of a hero saving a damsel in distress. He felt that he must look incredibly handsome right now. His image in Shen Mengyao's heart must be soaring to the sky. The reason he spoke so loudly was because he wanted the whole class to look over and witness the moment he protected her. Then, rumors would surely spread in class, rumors about him and Shen Mengyao. They might even start shipping them as a couple. Then, getting together would be a natural progression. This action by Lu Bu directly caused both Shen Mengyao and Liu Ying to be stunned. Even the whole class was stunned. Liang Jiaxiang even covered his face with both hands. He felt that watching something this cringy could possibly give him a rash all over his body. As for me and Tang Zi, we sat in our seats watching this drama, with dazed expressions. Tang Zi lowered her voice and whispered in my ear, "What's the situation? I don't know, probably filming an idol drama. Should we help Shen Mengyao? She can probably handle it. No need for now." Lu Bu turned his head to look at Shen Mengyao and found that Shen Mengyao seemed to be rummaging for something in her backpack. Lu Bu was extremely anxious inside. He thought, "Sis, what are you looking for at a time like this? Look at me. Was it easy for me to say those words in front of the whole class? You're not moved." That, Lu Bu. At that moment, Shen Mengyao's voice rang out. Hearing this, Lu Bu immediately turned to look at Shen Mengyao. "What is it?" Lu Bu smiled, but when he saw the thing in Shen Mengyao's hand, his smile froze, because in her hand, she seemed to be holding the gift he had given her yesterday. Shen Mengyao endured the pain and slowly stood up. Then she handed the gift in her hand to Lu Bo. Under the attention of the entire class, Shen Mengyao coldly and slowly spoke. Her voice was neither loud nor soft. Lu Bo, this is the gift you gave me yesterday. I'm returning it to you now. Also, please don't give me any more gifts in the future. I don't like you. Seeing this, the whole class immediately broke into an uproar. Most people had their mouths wide open and their eyes bulging. They didn't expect that so early in the morning they could watch such a performance. After Shen Mengyao finished speaking, she instinctively glanced in Mai and Tang Zi's direction. Tang Zi quietly gave her a thumbs up with an admiring look on her face. At this moment, Lu Bo was stunned on the spot, motionless, his face pale, as if telling others that he was dead. Liu Ying also looked full of disbelief. She didn't expect Shen Mengyao could say such words at a time like this, especially Liu Ying. She realized that Shen Mengyao seemed to have truly changed. She was completely different from before, which made her feel a bit unfamiliar. Seeing this scene, Liang Jiaxiang hurriedly stood up and pulled Lu Bo back. Although Shen Mengyao's behavior was also something he didn't expect. But generally, Lu Bo brought this upon himself. Yesterday he followed her home. I tried to stop him then, but he wouldn't listen. Now that these things have happened, he has to accept it. Shen Mengyao sat down, opened her book, no longer paying attention to others' gazes. She had already done what I needed to do. She didn't care about the rest anymore, didn't want to pay attention in class. The minds of many people were not on the lecture. Liu Ying occasionally stole glances at Shen Mengyao. Her heart was filled with countless questions, and also a lot of worries. What she worried about most was the relationship between me and Shen Mengyao. What should I do now? As for Lu Bo, needless to say, he stared blankly at his desk the entire session. Who knows what was on his mind? After class, Shen Mengyao wanted to go to the restroom, but her body was really having some difficulty moving. After sitting down, she wanted to stand up. It was incredibly difficult. It felt like she should have a pair of crutches right now, but at this moment, Liu Ying once again walked up to Shen Mengyao. Mengyao, can we talk? I think we must still have some misunderstandings. At this moment, Shen Mengyao was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Right now, she didn't care about misunderstandings or not. Right now, she wanted to go to the restroom. The girls' restroom wasn't close to the classroom. A round trip would take 3 minutes, not to mention her current condition. Mengyao, don't ignore me. Tell me, what are you still mad at me about? How could Shen Mengyao possibly tell the truth? Besides, she didn't want to talk right now. Just at this moment, a hand suddenly appeared in front of her. Liu Ying turned her head to look, immediately showing a look of disbelief. Tang Zi? Shen Mengyao also saw Tang Zi beside her. Tang Zi raised her eyebrows slightly at her. Although she didn't say a word, Shen Mengyao immediately understood. The corners of her mouth turned up. She quickly placed her hand on Tang Zi's. Then Tang Zi pulled her up, helping her leave right in front of Liu Ying. Liu Ying's eyes followed them the whole time until they were out of sight. Tian Ruan walked over to Liu Ying and asked, "What's the situation? I just saw Shen Mengyao and Tang Zi leave together. Since when did they get so close?" "I don't know." Liu Ying shook her head blankly, her heart in turmoil. In that moment, she thought of many things. Carefully recalling Shen Mengyao's recent expression, the moment she saw Tang Zi, it was like how she used to look at me. Her heart felt like a part of it was empty. Suddenly, she seemed to understand everything. Why Shen Mengyao had suddenly changed, why she was mad at me and cut ties with me. This must have something to do with Tang Zi. It must be Tang Zi who instigated it. 2 years of friendship. During that time, we almost never argued because Shen Mengyao is a very kind and gentle person. Even when I made a mistake, Shen Mengyao never held it against me and never blamed me. But now, all of this has changed. The most suspicious person is Shen Mengyao. Next to her, Tang Zi appeared. So Tang Zi is definitely the culprit who changed all of this? Liu Ying clenched her fists. Her expression was as cold as ice. Tang Zi, you stole Gucci from my side. Now you want to steal Mengyao too? After school, Lu Bo stood in front of the sink in the men's restroom. His expression was terrible. Immediately after, he picked up the gift, a music box, and smashed it to pieces. Staring at the shards on the floor, he suddenly remembered this gift. It was Tang Zi who helped them bring it in back then. Lunchtime, Shen Mengyao held her lunchbox and came over to me and Tang Zi, sitting at the desk in front of Tang Zi's, sharing a table with her. Now she no longer cared what others thought. If Tang Zi had said they could hang out together from now on, then Shen Mengyao would openly come to find Tang Zi. By the way, she could also be a little closer to me, because I never said that at school. We could hang out together, so Shen Mengyao was worried about bothering me, causing trouble, so she didn't talk to me openly. Otherwise, with her current carefree personality, she would have long since treated me like she does at home. Tang Zi saw Shen Mengyao eating with her and whispered, "You really dare to get close to me? I already warned you, my reputation is terrible. There might even be a few people who hold a grudge against me. If you get dragged into it then, don't blame me." Hearing this, Shen Mengyao smirked. She giggled. "It's okay. When that time comes, you'll stand firm and stand by your side to support you." Tang Zi was a little stunned. Then she lowered her head in silence without saying a word. Shen Mengyao was a bit puzzled. She didn't know what was wrong with Tang Zi. Could it be that she said something wrong? I stared at Tang Zi with a calm expression, seemingly having seen through Tang Zi's thoughts. After a moment, I slowly let out a breath and said softly, "That's good, isn't it?" This time, Auntie can also rest assured. Tang Zi raised her head to look at me, mumbling, "Brother, you're just randomly guessing what's on my mind. I'm not happy about it. Does this even need guessing? You're already calling me brother now? Is your mood still hard to guess?" Shen Mengyao listened to the two of them talk. It was like listening to something in a fog, as if it was encrypted. She didn't understand anything at all, but she also knew this was probably their chemistry. When could she have such chemistry with us? The three of us ate and talked together, attracting the gazes of many people, but most people were just watching for fun. Only one pair of eyes was always staring at us. In that gaze was resentment, anger, and unwillingness. This person was Liu Ying. At this moment, when she looked at Tongzi, it was as if she had a blood feud with her. In her heart, she had determined that Tongzi was the one who ruined the friendship between her and Shen Mengyao, although she couldn't figure out what reason Tongzi had for doing so. But she firmly believed that Tongzi was definitely not a good person. All right, Liu Ying, stop looking. They're not paying attention to you. You shouldn't pay attention to them either. Don't you still have me to hang out with? Tianruan reached out her hand and gently turned Liu Ying's face to make her look towards me. Regarding the matter of Shen Mengyao abandoning them, Tianruan actually didn't have a big reaction. Previously, she and Shen Mengyao just had a normal friendship, without any deep feelings. It was just that Liu Ying was in the middle, so the two of them hung out together. Now that Shen Mengyao no longer hung out with her, she felt it didn't make much difference. Liu Ying shook her head and said, "No, Mengyao is just bewitched. I have to save her. Tongzi, she definitely has some kind of scheme. She'll harm Mengyao then? Is that for real? The class president is so smart and she can be bewitched? So could it be that she has some weakness being held against her? That's right. That's it. You're right. Mengyao must have had some weakness discovered by Tongzi, who is using it to threaten her." In Liu Ying's mind, she had already imagined the scene of Tongzi threatening Shen Mengyao, although she still didn't know what purpose Tongzi had for doing so, but she felt that Tongzi was the type of person who would do such things. At this moment, Liu Ying heard someone call her. The sound was very quiet. She raised her head and looked towards the source of the sound and discovered it was Lu Bo standing at the classroom door calling her. After seeing Lu Bo, Liu Ying couldn't help but frown. She recalled what happened in the morning. Lu Bo, in order to defend Shen Mengyao, showed me no consideration at all. To this day, she still hasn't received an apology. I had no intention of doing anything to Shen Mengyao in the first place, but Lu Bo doing that was like he was standing on some moral high ground, criticizing me without distinguishing right from wrong. It's very annoying. "Hey, come out here for a bit. I have something to tell you." Lu Bo didn't seem to notice Liu Ying's unpleasant expression. He kept waving and calling. He didn't even dare to step into the classroom, afraid of being seen by Shen Mengyao and Tongzi. Liu Ying sighed helplessly, thinking to herself that Lu Bo was probably looking for her to apologize, so she stood up and slowly walked out of the classroom. But she still maintained a cold expression. Before Lu Bo apologized, she wouldn't show him a pleasant face. When Liu Ying came out of the classroom, Lu Bo immediately reached out to grab her hand, wanting to take her somewhere private to talk more. After all, what I'm about to say can't be overheard by others. Liu Ying saw this and quickly dodged Lu Bo's hand, questioning him. "Lu Bo, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to be a hooligan? I'll go tell the teacher, believe it or not." "No, you've misunderstood. I have something to tell you. It's not convenient for others to hear, so I wanted to take you to a quiet place. What did I misunderstand? Isn't what you're doing being a hooligan?" Liu Ying's eyes widened, staring at Lu Bo in some surprise. "Where did I misunderstand him?" I... Lu Bo was suddenly tongue-tied, unable to speak. His mind was a mess right now. He was already in a hurry. Now he was even more rushed and couldn't speak fluently. "Fine, you can say whatever you want, but there's a prerequisite. Shouldn't you have something more important to say to me?" About this morning's matter, Liu Ying glanced at him and said annoyedly while thinking to herself that Lu Bo was such a straight man. No wonder Shen Mengyao doesn't like him. This morning's matter? Lu Bo frowned and thought for a long time. Finally, he reacted, nodding repeatedly. He said, I know that. This morning I was too impulsive. I offended you without understanding the situation. I'm sorry. I apologize to you. That's more like it." Liu Ying's expression softened quite a bit. "I've already hinted this much. If Lu Bo still didn't get it, then I wouldn't need to continue talking to him anymore. All right? Say what you want to say first. Otherwise, I'm not talking to you anymore." Lu Bo looked left and right for a moment. After checking that no one was eavesdropping, he moved closer to Liu Ying and lowered his voice. "Aren't you Shen Mengyao's best friend? So I want to discuss something with you. I feel like Shen Mengyao seems to have changed. Moreover, I think it might be Tongzi pulling the strings from behind." When Liu Ying heard this, a spark of surprise flashed in her eyes. "Really? You think so too?" In the evening after school, the students had all left the school and gone home early. After all, there's an exam tomorrow. Tongzi walked home alone on the road. She was used to walking this road at night. Besides, the road was brightly lit and there were quite a few passers-by. She had nothing to worry about. However, after passing a corner, Tongzi frowned in surprise. Just as she was passing by, her fleeting glance seemed to have seen someone. Not long after, two people came jogging around the corner, but looking at the road ahead, there was no one in sight. We lost her. These two people were Lu Bo and Liu Ying. The two of them had been following Tongzi all the way since school let out. They knew there was no chance to approach Tongzi at school, and they couldn't ask anything, so they had arranged to wait until after school in the evening. They would follow Tongzi and make her explain the matter between her and Shen Mengyao. As a result, now there was no sign of Tongzi. Liu Ying already wanted to give up. She felt that following her was a mistake. Lu Bo saw Liu Ying was about to leave and immediately stopped her, saying, "Don't go. Didn't we say we'd form an alliance? If you leave, what am I supposed to do? Who said they wanted to form an alliance with you? Honestly, Just as the two were talking, something suddenly flew over their heads and hit a passerby who had just walked by. A man was hit in the head by that thing. It hurt so much that he winced and grimaced. Liu Ying and Lu Bo heard the sound and looked towards the man, and that man, while rubbing his head, happened to see the two of them. He frowned deeply, his eyes glaring with anger, and walked straight towards them. "Which one of you threw it? Throwing things around on the street? What kind of upbringing did your parents give you?" "No, we didn't throw it." Lu Bo almost couldn't stand steadily, tripping over a stone on the ground. He felt it was really baffling now, thinking to himself if this man was crazy. Liu Ying, seeing things were not going well, prepared to slip away. She said to Lu Bo, "I'm heading home first. My mom will be worried in a bit." After saying that, she turned and left, as if afraid of getting into some kind of trouble. She didn't feel that Lu Bo was unlucky. On the contrary, she felt that she was the unlucky one. If I had known, I wouldn't have followed. It would have been better to just go home obediently. "Hey, Liu Ying, don't go. Don't leave me here alone." No matter how Lu Bo called, Liu Ying didn't turn back, as if she didn't know him at all. Lu Bo also wanted to run, but just as he took one step, he was pulled back by the man. Liu Ying ran for more than 10 steps before she thought of turning back to check on Lu Bo's situation. As a result, just as she turned her head, she was grabbed by a hand that suddenly reached out from the side and pulled into a small alley nearby. Liu Ying's eyes widened as she looked at the person in front of her. It was Tang Zi, whom they had lost track of. Tang Zi pulling her here also meant that Tang Zi had actually discovered that she and Lu Bo were following her. "Why were you two following me? Is something wrong?" Tang Zi slowly spoke up, asking softly. Liu Ying was at a loss for words, stumped by the question, opened her mouth. Her gaze froze. After a moment, she thought of Shen Mengyao. "I just want to ask, what is your relationship with Shen Mengyao? Also, why isn't she hanging out with me anymore? Do you know something? She and I are just friends. She's not hanging out with you. Why are you asking me?" Tang Zi actually knew the situation, but she couldn't tell Liu Ying. Liu Ying frowned tightly, showing some dissatisfaction. "Then can you guarantee that you didn't speak ill of me in front of her?" "Never." Tang Zi replied decisively without any hesitation. Liu Ying saw Tang Zi answer so decisively, and there was no hint of a lie on her face at all. She couldn't help but be stunned. Then, how did you become her friend?" Liu Ying's momentum weakened quite a bit. I was clearly the one speaking louder, but she felt that Tang Zi had an imposing presence without being angry. "She's not hanging out with you anymore. It has nothing to do with me. How she and I became friends also has nothing to do with you. But I can tell you clearly, there is no causal relationship between these two things," Tang Zi replied softly. Liu Ying didn't know if her words were ultimately true or false, but looking at her state, it didn't seem like she was lying, although she had prepared a bunch of questions to ask, but now she couldn't ask anything. It was as if she already knew what answer I would get. After asking, "Can I believe you? Whether you believe me or not doesn't matter." After saying that, Tang Zi turned to leave. She didn't want to waste time here answering these questions from Liu Ying. These answers were just me pitying her because she had followed me for so long. "Wait, one last question." Liu Ying called Tang Zi back. Actually, what she wanted to ask Tang Zi wasn't just about Shen Mengyao. There was one more thing she particularly wanted to know. Tang Zi stopped, didn't turn back, and listened quietly. Liu Ying lowered her head, her hands a bit unnaturally fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. After a moment, she asked very quietly, "You and Guqi?" "He's my brother." Before Liu Ying finished, Tang Zi had already answered and left directly, leaving only Liu Ying here alone like a wooden block, stunned. She had thought of many possibilities, but she really didn't expect the two of them to be siblings. For a moment, a joy rose up in her heart that was hard to suppress, like a flower blooming in her heart. Does this mean that all my previous worries were wrong? Tang Zi and Guqi are fundamentally impossible. In the evening, Liu Ying got home, took out her phone to look at the message list. Before, her phone always had many unread messages. There were messages from me and also from Shen Mengyao. But now it was particularly quiet. The messages I sent also received no reply. She opened the chat interface with me, clearly knowing I wouldn't reply, and probably wouldn't even see it. But she still sent a sentence, "Good luck with the exam tomorrow." This question actually has a second solution, just in case. I'll teach it to you as well. Shen Mengyao pointed to a question on the test paper and patiently explained. But before she could start, she heard a light breathing sound. When she turned her head to look, she discovered I had collapsed on the table, fast asleep with my eyes closed. Since who knows when, the corners of Shen Mengyao's mouth curved up slightly. Her eyes revealed a faint tenderness. Looking at my sleeping appearance made her recall what she had been through these past few days. She had seen all my effort and progress. Shen Mengyao also sympathized with my hardship. For this exam, I had put in several times more effort than others. "Guqi, go to your room to sleep." She gently patted my shoulder and whispered in my ear, but she couldn't wake me up at all. Shen Mengyao hoped I could get a good rest. After all, one needs to be well rested before an exam. Otherwise, if I'm sleepy the next day, then all these efforts would be in vain, so now she didn't dare to wake me up. After all, with my personality, I would probably continue studying after waking up, so how can I get him to his room to sleep? After thinking for a long time, Shen Mengyao couldn't think of a way. She originally couldn't even move my body, let alone now when I couldn't use any strength. Although a day had passed and it was much better, her body was still very sore, so she could only let me continue sleeping here. Then she took one of my jackets and gently draped it over me. "Sleep well." Shen Mengyao sat beside me, also resting her hands on the table, and tilted her head to look at my sleeping face. She didn't know what she was thinking, but it seemed that just by looking like this, she could watch all night. I wonder how long this life can last. The deep night was extremely quiet. Some people had long been fast asleep, while others still had their nightlights on, striving for the desires in their hearts. It was past 4 a.m. There was a faint light outside. I slowly opened my eyes. The first sensation was the numbness in my arm and the ache in my waist. I lowered my head and looked at the jacket on me, and couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, recalling that I seemed to have fallen asleep at some point last night without realizing it. At that time, my head just felt heavy, and I couldn't open my eyes. I collapsed and fell into a deep sleep. Beside me, Shen Mengyao was sleeping quietly. Close your eyes. I can see her long eyelashes. I didn't expect Shen Mengyao to be here with me too. Actually, she could have just gone back to the bedroom to sleep. The jacket on me must be hers, but she isn't covered with anything. It's still very cold to sleep in the living room. Sleeping like this for a night, she might catch a cold. I see Shen Mengyao is almost curled up into a ball, with both hands tucked under her arms, which is enough to show that she must be very cold. Shen Mengyao. I softly called Shen Mengyao's name, wanting to wake her up, at least to let her continue sleeping in the bedroom. But after calling several times in a row, Shen Mengyao showed no signs of waking up. She was still sleeping very soundly. I know I've been neglecting to eat and sleep to study. My body's a little exhausted, but I forgot that Shen Mengyao is the same. Every time she was by my side, when I studied, she would be there tutoring me. I didn't sleep, and she didn't sleep either, so Shen Mengyao's exhaustion is actually no less than mine. Plus, with her pressure and those worries, she's probably even more mentally exhausted than physically. I really want to let Shen Mengyao keep sleeping. After all, there's still time now, but I definitely can't let her sleep in the living room. Since I can't wake her up by calling, I thought, you'll just carry her directly into the bedroom. After all, as long as my movements are gentle enough, I probably won't wake her up. I stood up, looked at Shen Mengyao in front of me, steadied my breath, and let my heart calm down. Then I bent down and gently lifted Shen Mengyao into my arms. Shen Mengyao still had her eyes closed, which was enough to see that she was really tired. A pang of guilt rose in my heart. However, as I walked to the side of the bed, preparing to put Shen Mengyao down, she suddenly turned in my arms and wrapped her arms around my shoulders. In that moment, I felt like I turned to stone in an instant. My limbs went stiff. I looked down, but Shen Mengyao in my arms didn't seem to be awake yet. This seemed to be an unconscious action in her dream. So what should I do now? Now that Shen Mengyao is hugging my shoulders, there's basically no way to put her on the bed. Do I have to wake Shen Mengyao up now? Just then, I heard Shen Mengyao's faint voice coming from my embrace. Mom. Right after that, I felt Shen Mengyao's arms around me tightening, as if she was afraid I would leave her. Her body trembled slightly. I could feel she was a little scared, a little insecure. A lump formed in my throat and in my head. The intention to wake Shen Mengyao up vanished. I had forgotten, although Shen Mengyao looks very strong, very open. In the end, she is also just a young girl in her parents' eyes. Now, what I want most is for Shen Mengyao not to wake up. It would be good if I could let her sleep a little longer. Maybe in her dream, it would let her stay with her mother a little longer. I sat firmly on the bed, without moving, playing the role of Shen Mengyao's bed and bolster pillow, letting her sleep peacefully in my arms. About half an hour later, my body was already very stiff. My arms were very tired, almost unable to bear it anymore, but I still didn't dare to move. Another half hour passed. Shen Mengyao opened her hazy eyes. It seemed there were still small tears in the corners of her eyes. Before she could even react to where she was, she heard my voice. Good morning.